Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
Well, the toughest turnaround is Saturday, Monday. The blessing is no matter who you play on Big Monday, it's going to be good. It's the Big 12. But the standpoint, it's a home game that makes it easier.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
We like the grit that we play with. Feel like we play with a lot of joy. Didn't feel like everybody played great, but we definitely came out with the win. What do we need to work on? Just going forward, just executing our game plan when we play Kansas tomorrow.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Jackson fires, and that will be intercepted in the end zone by Johnson. Karen Johnson. And only Jackson can stop him now. Too late to the end zone. Touchdown.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go. Good afternoon on this Monday, Martin Luther King Day. We're right across the street. We're off of Martin Luther King, of course, Avenue Drive, and off of 101 Elm, and right across the street, Martin Luther King Plaza, right off of the Brazos River. Craig Smoak to my right, Paul Catalina to my left. We have Jack and Armstrong running the mothership today. Baylor, number 2 in the country, against number 9, Kansas. And apparently this is the worst of the odds ever that a Bill Self team at Kansas has had to face, like -9, 9.5. We'll hear from Jerome Tang, the associate head coach at Baylor. Later on, Jason King in studio breaks the game down as well. Former Bills linebacker Darryl Talley, they're in the AFC Championship game. Also today, Fox Sports and former Cowboys fullback Daryl Johnston. We'll have Phil Bennett, North Texas defensive coordinator. That was a tough one to swallow this weekend.
It's bittersweet news. I'm happy for North Texas. I'm happy for Phil Bennett. Obviously, they can pay him way more than we can. But I'm sad for our show that we won't get our weekly dose of Phil.
Yeah, no, it stinks for us. It stinks for SicEm365, but I think it's great for Phil Bennett, obviously, to be back in football. That was something that he clearly wanted to get back into. I think he had even made that known a couple of times in conversations with us. So once a coach, always a coach. He's still got plenty of gas left in the tank. At least it appears when we talk to him. So only makes sense that somebody might be interested. And I wonder if Seth Luttrell maybe caught wind of the segment and heard Phil Bennett fired up as ever and pointing out where, teams are going wrong and thought, hey, with even the SEC now going like the Big 12 way of offense these days, how about a guy who experienced this revolution firsthand and how to defend it in Phil Bennett?
Yeah, and Bennett will join us again. He said he would come on today at 5 to discuss the job and also look at a few other things. And, when Vic Valoria was at SMU, Baylor's new strength and conditioning coach, Phil Bennett was there, and we'll ask him about that. We had it. Most of last week was about the offensive staff. Tyquan Thornton is back. So that Baylor men's game, by the way, tip-off at just after 8 o'clock. We'll be there with coverage. Tyquan Thornton makes the decision. A lot of people have. A lot of players have. Blake Bettier still not so sure. But Tyquan Thornton, 16 catches, 158 yards, and 1 touchdown last year. There were thoughts that maybe he could do that in a game, not 16 catches, but that's where he was. He played in only 6 of the 9 games, and, of course, they didn't throw the ball deep very often.
No.
Go ahead, Greg.
No, they didn't because they couldn't, because they either didn't have time to or because Charlie Brewer couldn't throw it down the field. So it was a double whammy of if you're a deep receiver or a deep down the field receiver, just a bad combination for you. I can't imagine how frustrated Tyquan probably was at times last year. But then again, he was also hurt. He also had other issues that were preventing him from being the player that we thought he could be. He got voted a single digit last year. And I think most people probably forgot that he even wore a single digit because we never saw him. We never saw him on the field, hardly at all, because it was never thrown towards him. There were hardly any completions, as you said, with less than 200 yards receiving on the year. I mean, that's just inexcusable, even if he was injured for a large portion of that time. So I think it's the right move for him. He had a very forgettable year. He needs to, get bigger, stronger, and he can't get much faster, but they could certainly get a lot more out of him.
Yeah, no question about it. So that's another player that's coming back. Justin Fields, Ohio State. Trey Sermon, the running back, transfer from Oklahoma to Ohio State. Both of them, not a surprise, declaring for the NFL draft. We're going to get to a couple other things as well. But we do have Jerome Tang here in the next segment on when you play late and it's game day, you have all day long, and how tedious Scott Drew and his staff are. By the way, if you're a men's basketball fan or a Baylor fan or whatever you are, fan of Jonathan Tchamwa, there is a story by C.J. Moore, who was on with us on Friday in theathletic.com about Jonathan, that is as good and insightful and as deep. And I'm talking about seeing him from every possible angle. Do you know that Baylor was like almost doing everything they could, probably not to bring him on campus? Not because of anything character, not because of anything like that. And they found or heard about some video of him when he was on a YouTube video in Australia. And they checked it out. All of a sudden, they got a little bit more interested, not that they weren't already. And it's crazy. And that story by C.J. Moore in The Athletic. Tennessee, yet again, looking for a new head football coach. This is not only Jeremy Pruitt being fired, he's being fired with cause, as are a couple of his assistant coaches, and the Vols are once again in a coaching search.
Yeah, and Philip Fulmer's he's going to retire, so he's being pushed out. It appears that, and look, they've made nothing but bad coaching hires, whether it's John Curry or Phil Fulmer, and that they're kind of, to me right now, Smoaky, are they like the Knicks or the Washington football team of college football, where you have this great brand of tons of fans and, you know, everything about your thing should work, but because you have bad leadership, you cannot figure out which way is up. And that's where Tennessee is right now.
We see that at all levels. We see that even at the high school level. We see that at the college level. And we see that at the professional level as well. Speaking of which, the Texans, Nick Caserio interviewing Matt Eberflus, Brandon Staley, Leslie Frazier, David Culley, and Eric Bieniemy gets his shot after they get into the AFC Championship game against Buffalo, and also the Packers and Buccaneers, and Tom Brady in his 14th championship game, first in the NFC. Paul, Eric Bieniemy does get his opportunity. That's, to me, good news. I don't know who they're going to take, but obviously you wonder about, will they say to Deshaun Watson, who do you want, so you'll stay and play for us, or can you do that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they've got to deal with this. This is my top 5 later in the show. This is one of the big issues coming out of the NFL weekend. And I'm glad to see Eric Bieniemy get a job. I know for a fact one of those guys will not be there, and that's Brandon Staley. He's the new head coach of the Chargers.
So that's who they've interviewed. Yeah, but Bieniemy actually was able to get interviewed.
Yeah, that's good, and that's good for Eric Bieniemy. They have created a situation. Cal McNair is much more like Mark Davis, you know, and the apple falls far from the tree with Mark and Al Davis, and I think the same thing with Bob and Cal McNair right now, in that he's getting advice from all the wrong people. And J.J. Watt's mad, and Deshaun Watson's mad, and I don't know how you come back from that, but they're going to have to work at it.
Well, your quarterback's trying to tell people not to rally on your behalf, and yet they're doing it anyways. I mean, Texans fans, go home. Let's go home. We don't need more people out in the streets for dumb reasons, like the general manager of your football team. Like, I mean, you know, there's things to protest about. The general manager of your football team is not one of those. So when your franchise quarterback's having to come out on social media and say, like, hey guys, I'm good, just calm down a little bit. It's not like the streets of Houston were filled or anything, but there are much bigger issues going on than the GM of the Texans. Although for Texans fans, it's like the thing to be upset about right now is Jack Easterby. So, that's a situation that still has some sorting out to do.
Adam Schefter over the weekend reported on Saturday that there's growing sense from people within the Texans organization that Deshaun Watson has played his last snap for them. That remains to be seen. Looks like maybe Drew Brees has played his last snap, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I want to go back to the Tennessee thing at some point, but if Watson's played his last snap for the Texans, then that's just the biggest fumbling of the bag ever. I mean, and they've found a way to outdo themselves with bad decisions. I mean, that would just be unbelievable if that's the case. I find that hard to believe, but that would be bad. But on Drew Brees, if it ever seemed time, it was last night. You know, not all those interceptions were on him, but he did not play well. And the Saints offense just as a whole was a bit erratic at times, and they lost to a better team in my opinion. So if that's his last game, I know everybody wants to go out winning a Super Bowl or whatever, but he had multiple opportunities to go back to a Super Bowl these last 10 years and just could never quite do it. So he had his shot. He's got his ring. He's a great player, Hall of Famer, but it's time.
Tom Brady, 14th conference title game.
Is that a lot?
I want you to think about this. That's twice as many as Montana appeared in. Now, I don't know. Montana did lose in one with Kansas City, right? So he's been in a couple. Montana was in 7, I believe. 7. And Brady's now on his 14th. And you just knew. I just felt like after the way their offense has been going that the Saints would struggle to score, and they did. And, I mean, if Tom Brady takes the Bucs to a championship game, he's already, in my opinion, I know you could argue with Johnny Unitas, or you could argue with, obviously, Joe Montana.
There's not an
Dan
argument
Marino.
anymore.
What he's done, like, it's almost like, Paul, you build a cake, right?
Yeah.
You have the cake, you have the icing, then you start putting things on top, and whatever else is the next greatest thing to put on top of that of the ice cream, that's Tom Brady.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, there's some people out there that want to, it was just Belichick. And, well, I mean, come on. I mean, Belichick's great and all, but, like, it was the combination of the two of them. And, look, the Bucs already had a pretty good roster. And they had a quarterback who was moving the ball. The one thing you say about Jameis Winston is the ball never hits the ground. The problem is that it's not always in the right person's hands. So you move on from Jameis Winston, you bring in Tom Brady, and then once he got in a rhythm with those receivers, and they bring in Antonio Brown, and that's worked out pretty well. Yeah, and once he got in a rhythm with those guys, watch out.
Yeah, the Bucs had talent, but, I mean, he put them over the top clearly. And for him to be in this position, I want to be careful because it's not like they've won this championship game just yet, and he's already back in the Super Bowl. But I feel like we're probably going to already kind of like pretend, just nationally kind of pretend like he's already gotten to that level. But if he does get back to a Super Bowl, if he wins with this Bucs team, forget calling him the greatest QB of all time. Might be the greatest football player of all time. And I know Jim Brown fans will get all crazy, or Barry Sanders fans, or whoever wants to put up an argument. But if this man goes to a completely different organization when it was system quarterback, and goes and wins a title with Bruce Arians and Gronk, and that he's the GOAT. Well, he is the GOAT, but he's already the GOAT of quarterbacks. I don't even think there's an argument anymore.
They do have to play the Packers and Aaron Rodgers.
Right,
Chiefs, of course, waiting on what the developments are with Patrick Mahomes against Buffalo. The Louisville women's basketball team, first time ever ranked number 1 in the country. Baylor, after the loss to Iowa State, I was there, dropped to number 9. There was a lot of discussion about Kim Mulkey's post-game comments about the season continuing. We will get into that sometime in the 4 o'clock hour. About what she said and perhaps what should be, thought of reading between the lines. But number 1, Stanford lost to a 5-6 Colorado. Texas lost to 6-6 Texas Tech. And then Iowa State beat Baylor. That's back-to-back times they've beaten Baylor. So it was a wacky weekend for a sport in women's basketball.
When's the last time Baylor, and they're not there yet, when's the last time they were outside of the top 10?
That's why I looked at the poll. That's why I brought it up. I can't imagine when. I just can't even imagine when. That's a great question. I'll ask Kyle Robarts that, or maybe Jerry Hill. Baylor men's tennis beat SMU today 7-0. And earlier today on Up-Tempo, Casey Lightfoot broke the indoor pole vault record for Baylor out in Lubbock, Texas. I saw it. It was 9 5 3/4 inches. Broke the record set last year at Nebraska meet. And Casey Lightfoot, great interview. It's on the podcast on SicEm365 Radio. We have so much to get to coming up next, and there's so much to talk about outside of all of that. It is Jerome Tang on Baylor in Kansas, tip-off at just after 8, and then former Bills linebacker Darryl Talley at 3:30. This is SicEm365 Radio. Ideal MRI, where you can get an MRI for $497 or less. Not just once, not like it's like this is the early first time you get a cheap price. No, $497 or less every single time at idealmri.com. Their locations in Waco, in the Central Texas Marketplace. They have state-of-the-art technology. When it comes to the MRI machine, I have been in it. I have experienced setting up the appointment. That's no big deal, but it was because it was at the start of what we are now dealing with 9 months later, COVID, the pandemic. And then I went in there. Didn't take long, checked in, pre-checked, in fact, spoke with the Texan specialist. They walked me through. I've been in the MRI machine before. This one was as smooth as I've ever remembered, and I've probably been in an MRI machine 5 to 8 different times. It's idealmri.com in the Central Texas marketplace. They do it right, and they can save you a ton of money because it's on average an MRI $1,100, but with them at Ideal MRI in Waco, idealmri.com, $497 or less every time.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
It's a new year. Time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Hi, this is David Smoak, including what you'll need to watch the NFL playoffs and Super Bowl. Ribs, sausage, links, brisket, chicken wings, bags of various snacks, and customized appetizer trays. Don't forget to order something now for the perfect home-cooked Valentine's Day dinner, which is closer than you think, including combo packs with ribeyes, fillets, and lobster tails. Live crawfish season is just around the corner. Absolutely the right time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Waco Custom Marketplace, your family meat market, butcher shop and bakery with everything baked fresh with old-fashioned farmers market atmosphere. Serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on SicEm365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, located at the Imperial Drive exit off Loop 340 in Waco. Proud supporters of all Baylor Athletics.
Baylor Associate Head Coach, Baylor men's basketball, number 2 Baylor and number 9 Kansas tonight at the Farrell Center, 8 o'clock tip. Jerome, what is game day like when it's such a late tip, or even if it was a 6 or 7 o'clock tip? How many meetings, or is the hay in the barn, or do you just constantly look for something new?
Well, Scott Drew never stops. Okay, so that should be a T-shirt. He's always like watching another clip, another film, another game, something, has a question. So we always have a meeting, sometimes two, before the games. We're always getting text messages and video clips from him with questions. We'll walk through some things with our GAs to kind of get an idea of what we want to take and show our guys during walkthrough, which takes place around 2:30. We'll have a film session after that, and then we'll have our pregame chapel and then our pregame meal, and the guys will leave for a little bit, and they get back about an hour and a half, 90 minutes before tip. During that in-between time, everybody has their own little routine that they do. Some of us watch some more film. Some of us, I think, we have TV coaches. Those are the ones who, they got to watch stuff to keep them occupied, and that's how they get in their game mode. And then there are the non-TV coaches who want to be by themselves, locked away, don't want to know anything that's going on, and that's how they get their minds right. But it's late games they're fun for the fans, but they're not as fun for the coaches because we have to wait all day to play.
Yeah, I don't like the 8 o'clock tip either. I understand it's television-driven like most everything else. So if somebody was to say, oh, this Kansas team, they're vulnerable this year, what would you say to that?
Man. Well, listen, man, they have a Hall of Famer on that bench, and his staff, is a Hall of Fame staff. Those guys don't get bad players, and those guys get coached, and they have a championship pedigree. And the last thing in the world you ever want to do is count out a Bill Self team, with a chip on their shoulder. And so Kansas is Kansas. Everybody knows that. This is a big game because it's our next game, but the opponent matters, and there's no denying it, right? We just have to make sure that our guys don't come out too emotional, too, hyped. Like we have to be us, and that gives us the best chance to win at the end of it.
Do you feel like sometimes when people play a team like that, and maybe now people when they play Baylor, that sometimes when you play a Kansas or a Duke or a North Carolina, no matter where they are at the time, that you can almost hyperventilate and freeze up at times as well?
Like with the athletes, I don't know if they freeze up. Usually it's they're too they don't play within themselves. Right. Sometimes I've never been around a kid who, after it was done, it was the moment was too big for them, and they just shut down. It was usually they cared too much and didn't know how to control their emotions and their anxiety and stuff during that time.
So, you guys coming off the win against Texas Tech, an emotional game, down to the wire game. What did it say about Jared Butler, Jerome, that he didn't shoot the ball very well, but when you needed him to make a couple of shots, he made the ones when you needed him?
Yeah, he's no moment for Jared Butler has ever been too big, and when you look on his face, you don't see, you never see a change. The bigger the moment, the more laser focused he becomes, and he wants that. He embraces that opportunity, and it says a lot about his teammates because they kept throwing him the ball, and then the staff that Coach Drew trusted him, and that's just guys are going to make him miss shots at different times, but when you look at what he was doing, he might not have been making shots, but he wasn't playing bad. He had 4 steals and 5 rebounds and a ton of deflections, and just the ball just wasn't going in, but you knew that when the time came that he was up for the moment.
How much do you think Marcus Garrett at Kansas and Jared Butler at Baylor love playing against each other?
Man, that a great seeing those guys battle each other. Marcus Garrett is the defending National Defensive Player of the Year, and he, ever since high school, I watched the kid at Skyline, and man, he's just a competitor and a winner, and Jared Butler is the same, Jared Butler won a football and basketball state championship in high school. That dude's a winner. So it's fun to watch those two battle each other.
So this Kansas team, obviously last year they had Azubuike, and they've got a big guy inside that's playing pretty well. They've got Wilson, who is coming off the year he was hurt, and others. We mentioned Garrett. David McCormick inside has exploded offensively. So what do you do? Well, who are they? Just who they are, as you mentioned, a Hall of Fame coaching staff, and they've got great players. What is Kansas? What is it that they do that makes you nervous, or not so much makes you nervous, but you have to be ready for?
Well, Bill Self's team always defend well, and they're top 10 in the country in defense. He's played a little bit more zone than he has ever before, but 96% of the time it's going to be man-to-man, and they're going to guard you. They're going to put their chest on you. They're going to box you out, and then they transition from defense to offense very well. That's like a staple of theirs, that when they get their hands on the ball, they got 5 guys that are running fast. And so can't turn the ball over against them to give them easy buckets. You've got to sprint back and set your defense, so they have to go against it. And then, he runs so much stuff that you just have to, allow your defensive principles to take over, and, know where McCormick is, because he's their leading scorer, and they're going to throw him the ball. And then you got to know where the shooters are and close out to them and make their shots tough. And when they miss, and because, it's a make-miss game, when they miss, we got to limit them to one shot. We can't let them, Texas Tech had 18 offensive rebounds against us. We can't do that. We got to limit guys to one shot, and that's what you've got to do. The other end, you got to make some shots. That's what it boils. We had a coach, Tim Maloney, who used to be with us, and Smoak, we'd have all these long meetings you talk about, and this and that and the other, and at the end of it, with all the scheming we did, he'd get up and go, I hope we make shots.
Yep. You got to put the ball in the basket. Yep, absolutely. You guys had that delay again because the game with West Virginia was postponed, and that's a tough game to play after you haven't really had much flow. As far as they are gritty and defense, and they're coming off the huge win, how much did you enjoy how your team competed? Both of them competed against each other, considering you haven't been able to get much into a flow and to have to play that game in Lubbock?
Yeah, even if we had played a game before that, the way Chris Beard gets his guys to play and the way they buy into what he's about and what their culture is about, that is extremely impressive. They're going to make you look bad. Okay, they're going to make the game very difficult for you, and they take pride in it. And those guys, that was that was a grown man fight right there, right? That was 2 grown men struggling and clawing and scrapping, and we happened to, the last 8 minutes of the game, we happened to not turn the ball. It wasn't by accident, but it was the moment in those last 8 minutes where we didn't turn the ball over and we made the right pass and made some shots. Jared hits 2 threes, makes a great pass to Davion in the corner. He hits a 3. Maceo makes a great pass to Adam Flagler when they were scrambling, and he hits a 3. And, it gave us some separation. And then, I really love the way we guard, and we're continuing to get better. And I just feel like when you give us separation in a short period of time, we're going to be able to get the stops that we need. And so whether we had played a game or not, that game was going to be like that. It's going to be. Last year it was 2 one-possession games, both at their place and our place. It's just going to be like that because that's what they do. He does a really good job with his guys, and he gets the right guys that believe in the things that he believes in, and then he puts them in position to be successful.
C.J. Moore today from The Athletic wrote a story about Jonathan Tchamwa, and it is as good a story as I've ever seen written about anybody that's played at Baylor or pretty much anywhere else. You were a part of it. You handle the bigs. Baylor's always been known at being able to develop the big men, the project, so to speak. This guy is dripping with tremendous talent. Last time I spoke with you, it was about Matthew Meyer and how he'd grown up. And I'd asked you even about Everyday John, about how was he ahead of the curve. What a story. And you talk about how you guys are always finding that one more clip, and it discusses the YouTube, the Australian video of him playing. Is there anything you guys don't find unturned?
Coach Drew, Scott is he's a guy, like, one of the big things for coaches to follow up and follow through, right? And he wants people who will follow up and people who will follow through with what they said they're going to do, and he prides himself on that. So when somebody tells him something, hey, we saw this, and someone told him, hey, there's some video somewhere of John, working out when he was at the school in Australia. And you know what Coach did? He followed up, he followed through, he found it, we sat, we watched it, we saw, some things differently than we saw in the film from UNLV. It's just the, information is the most valuable commodity, and we're going to do whatever we can to get the information about all of our guys so that we can make the best decision. And then when they're here, we're going to do everything we can to help them be successful.
Do you guys, has Jonathan even scratched the surface of how good he can be?
No. I was meeting with both he and Flo yesterday, and just I don't think they realize, and Jonathan doesn't, speaking specifically to Jonathan, he doesn't realize that he's 6'8", 245 pounds, 5% body fat, can run, probably a 4.6 40 and jump 40 inches in the air. And, like, not everybody can do that. Like, he doesn't realize what a physical specimen he is. And sometimes he plays too nice because he's such a nice guy. Like, these guys, like, if you told them, like, if you push somebody, it's a foul, they believe it, right? So I'm not going to push because pushing is a foul. Well, it's not a foul unless they call it. So,
right.
Like, I want you to push him as much as you possibly can until they call it, and then we'll figure out what to do from there. It's just how they grew up, how they would talk to game as people, and now they haven't only played Flo for 6 and John for 4. We've got to teach them, just how to understand who they are and what they're physically capable of doing, more than just bouncing and shooting the ball.
Last thing, it should be one heck of a game tonight. I know it can't be full capacity. Texas Tech didn't pack it, but they surely were right on the edge of capacity. You expect kind of a nice, loud, favorable crowd, Baylor raucous against Kansas tonight. How much would that mean to the team?
Oh, it would mean so much to us. Let me tell you, that was a road game at Texas Tech. Their administration, their student body, their fans showed up in full force. I'm glad that there was, like, they didn't have a fire marshal there, because if they were doing a head count, it felt, let me just say this, if there was 4,000 people that were allowed in there, they made it feel like there were 8,000 people in there. Okay, those fans, they were unbelievable. They brought it, and they brought it with power. So I'm challenging our Baylor family, our students, everyone to show up tonight. Sneak in if you have to sneak in, whatever. I mean, there's always a spot. And be twice as loud as you would have been, because we need your help tonight.
Jerome Tang, associate head coach at Baylor men's basketball, 8 o'clock tip against Kansas. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Appreciate Jerome Tang. He's been on with us many, many times, and you heard what he said. Always a spot. Be twice as loud. because we need you. Number 2 Baylor, unbeaten Baylor off the win against Texas Tech against number 9 Kansas tonight at the Farrell Center at just after 8 o'clock. Well, the NFC AFC Championship games are set. Obviously, the Buccaneers and Packers up in Lambeau and Buffalo and Kansas City. That ought to be an incredible game. And we're joined by former Bills linebacker Darryl Talley, who joins us on Sic'em365 Radio, as it's a day in which he's moving his daughter into law school at Stetson. That's got to be a thrill, Darryl, about what you're doing and going to Stetson, your daughter in law school. We'll start with that.
Yeah, my daughter-in-law school is really a blessing because, trust me, I had enough problems with them early on that just didn't want to do contracts right.
Oh, my goodness. I love it.
That's part of the reason why she's in law school.
Oh, I absolutely love it. What does it mean to the city of Buffalo that they've had this run? I really honestly wish it could be Cleveland against Buffalo because the world would implode because one of those two is going back to the Super Bowl in Cleveland for the first time ever. But what does it mean that Buffalo's back and relevant when it comes to the championship level?
Hold on for a minute now. First of all, you're getting on my city there. I was born and raised in Cleveland, but I definitely would put them in the back mirror, in the rearview mirror when it comes to the Super Bowl. But I think that it means a tremendous amount for the Bills to go back to the Super Bowl, especially for the city of West New York. And the only bad thing right now that I see going for them is that we have this pandemic going on and the fans are not allowed to be not that many fans are allowed to be there. When we went to the Super Bowl during our day with 80,000 maybe fans, you would see just walking around and just how do I want to put it? The exuberation and exhilaration you feel from the fans, or you get the feeling from them being a player on the field, is just unbelievable. And that's what I wish these guys had a chance or an opportunity to get that feeling, because that feeling is like nothing else you'll ever feel in your life. I mean, you'll have the hair on your arms start to stand up. I get chill bumps when I start thinking about it because my body, it just reacts that way. And once you've been in that environment, you get it. And then all of a sudden, it just sort of lifts you. It lifts the level of play that you're playing at because of the energy you pull from your fans. And it sounds crazy, but it actually happens.
What's it been like these last, it's been a long time, watching the team that
25 years?
Yeah, 25 years.
You're not counting.
Well, watching the Bills, the team that you...
28, really.
Yeah, that you were a part of, that you built, and that was the class of the NFL for a long time, struggle and not be what you guys made them in the 80s and 90s.
In the 80s and 90s, that's why I got kicked up. My wife kicked me off Twitter because in the beginning, I seen that happening, and she just told me, no, Darryl, you can't be on Twitter and any of that, because that was just now starting to come out after we had gotten done. And I was like, wait a minute, y'all ruining a perfectly good team and environment, everything to win in. What are you doing? I would get mad at the guys that yell at the TV set. My wife would tell me, no, you can't get on Twitter. Because I get on Twitter and I go to rant and rave about it. And she said, okay, when we do this, we'll do it together from now on. So I get put on probation with Twitter.
Hey, Darryl, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, it does just, I wish they could get that feeling that they get from the fans and being in that stadium. I mean, it's awful cold out there. And a lot of people don't like it when it's cold, but we loved it.
The defense was just remarkable against Lamar Jackson and company. I mean, the Ravens have an offense filled with talent, but held them to just a field goal. I know Josh Allen's a big part of why they're where they are, but what did you think of that defensive performance? I mean, really all season, but especially in this last game.
That's the thing about this Bills team. They seem to be playing for one another, not just playing for themselves. They're playing for each other. And anytime you're playing for somebody else, you know you can't afford to let that guy down because that guy is dependent on you. That's why I think they've won games when the offense wasn't playing very well. They've won games when the defense hasn't played well. And they've won games when their special teams haven't played well. They've all attributed to wins and victories during the year. And whether you believe it or not, that means a whole lot to a lot of guys playing together for one another like that. Because when you get that way, you'll have something similar to what we have now. We played together, 30 years ago, 25 years ago, and we're still talking to each other to this day. I mean, we had a bond that I don't think anybody could break or anybody would doubt. And we were a different group. And that's all due to the way that our fans supported us and us coming to show up at work every day. And that's what these guys have, that mentality.
You know, you guys had an incredible run. Everyone knows about the run you had. How tight-knit were you, Bruce Smith, Andre Reed, Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Darryl Talley, Steve Tasker? How tight of a group were you guys?
Every one of those guys you just mentioned is in my group text. We text each other daily.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And the funny part is, 9 times out of 10, we get woken up by either Crickneck, our punter, Chris Moore, going hunting or Jim hunting in a deer stand somewhere. So, yeah, we get woken up at 5 in the morning by them. Hey, what are you doing? Sleeping?
Darryl Talley.
That's the way we were. We're a group of guys that just thoroughly enjoyed hanging out with each other. And as an end result, our families are intertwined as well because they do the same thing.
What did Marv Levy mean to you?
Meant everything. I mean, when you really look at Marv is perhaps the smartest man I've ever met, because let's put it this way, he can make a dumb man feel smart and make a smart man feel dumb. He had that much control over the English language. There wasn't anything that we couldn't ask or we wouldn't ask. That would be better all said with my group. He meant the world. I mean, he let us be men. He allowed us to be boys. He did do that, but when it came time to do the things that were right, he insisted they were done right. And he didn't have much of a problem with a lot of us because we essentially kept everybody else in line because I knew that we wouldn't get another coach like that if we got rid of him. So I was doing everything I could during the time I was there to make sure everybody stayed on the straight and narrow and we did the things we had to do to win.
The Bills had gone through a lot of quarterbacks since the Jim Kelly era, and here they are. Josh Allen's got them back in a place where you and Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas and Andre Reed had been previously. What do you make of Josh Allen and just the success that he's had and the way that he's helped lead this team?
Josh Allen is doing a tremendous job. I mean, he's a very athletic quarterback in comparison to Jim.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
I have to give Fred Flintstone trouble. But here's the thing. Josh Allen was a very athletic quarterback. He's a guy that I say it was earlier this year, when he dropped the football and picked it up and then went ahead to two linebackers and gained 5 yards for a first down. He dropped the ball behind the line of scrimmage now, picked it up. This is the quarterback. And then forges forward with two linebackers breathing down his throat. And he was the one standing at the end of it. And I said, oh, my wife looked at me. She said, what are you hollering about? I said, he's arrived. Just let everybody know I'm here. I'm here, and I'm going to have to be dealt with. And that was what I called Josh Allen's coming out party, because he hit these two linebackers and stood up. It was like, no, that's my first down. And at that point, that's when I knew they had a quarterback like we had with Jim. We had a guy that's willing to go stick his face in a briar patch. If he's got to go tackle somebody, he's going to go do it. We had to fight Jim to keep him from tackling people after he threw an interception, if you can believe that. So that's the type of mentality we wanted for our quarterback, and that's the type of mentality I think the Bills have got for their quarterback right now. He's the type of guy that wants to lead. He wants everybody to get on board. He wants to be the guy. And he's doing everything. We tease Jim all the time. We teased him the other day in the group chat, telling him, well, Jim, Herman was giving him garbage. All your records are ready to get broke now.
Sorry about you. Yeah. You mentioned
that's just how bad we are. Yours are getting broke now.
Yep. That's great.
And then we all laughed at it.
You mentioned that you grew up in Cleveland. You were born in Cleveland. You also, when you played a game against the Browns, returned a pick. I think we showed video of it just a minute ago for a touchdown in that game. What kind of a moment was that for you?
That was a huge moment because I had been playing against Ozzie Newsome the whole day, and they brought my younger brother in the game and put him and flipped the formation and tried to run the same route to him. They were throwing the ball to my younger brother, number 87 for the Browns. I intercepted that ball and ran it back for a touchdown. The white drain hit my brother and decleated him. Boy, you think you never caught the end of that? I got 6 points. I got 6 points in Cleveland, place we had always grown up, wanted to play there my whole life. Just to be in Cleveland and do that, that's just like Travis Kelce yesterday. Travis Kelce's the East Cleveland guy. He went to my rival high school, Cleveland Heights, and he got to go home. He had Cleveland come to him, and he beat him in his house. So yeah, there's a lot of emotion going on with that game because you're so close to each other. You're 2.5 hours apart.
Who was the quarterback that you guys got up to play the most back then? Was it Marino because of the rivalry?
It was Marino because I've been playing against Danny since 1979. And for me, he had been my most formidable person I played against my whole career because I played against him in college. I played against him every year I played in the National Football League. So we played against each other for just about 20 years. How can he not be my most formidable opponent?
Darryl, what would be your advice to the Bills as they get ready for this? I mean, obviously, before they can think about Super Bowls and things like that, they got a very formidable opponent in the Chiefs. I mean, I don't know what you see when you watch the Chiefs, but, it's just incredible to see what Mahomes and company does. I know he's a little dinged up, but what would be your advice to Bills players going into this championship game, just as far as the mentality and the work and everything that goes into it?
As far as the way I look at it, I don't change anything that I've done. I don't go do anything different than what I've done to prepare myself each and every week. I keep everything the same. I do everything the same, pay a little more attention to detail, but I don't change anything because guess what? I've done a pretty damn good job to get here.
Right.
So as long as I keep my habits the same, I don't think I'll have any problems. I go out and do the same things I do every week. Study, know what your man's going to do before he does it, or have a good idea. And that's it. Just study your guys. Don't change anything. There's no reason to change. Why are you going to change? If you change something now, then what happens to all the preparation you did during the year? Every week you prepared to play on Sunday or Saturday or Thursday. So you keep that same schedule. Whichever day that game's going to fall on, that's the regiment you follow. And believe it or not, football players are creatures of habit. We do everything the same way all the time. Because what's the definition of perfection? Doing something the same way every time. That's what you have to do.
Do you believe, had you won the first Super Bowl against the Giants, that you as a team would have reeled off multiple championships, or would that have mattered? If you win that first one, because it's hard to win two in a row. It's hard to win. It's there's complacency.
It's hard to win one in a row.
Yeah.
What the hell do you mean? It's hard to win one in a row. We had 4 chances.
I know.
I don't know. I really don't know, but I still think we would have came back each year because of just the sheer mental toughness and the attitude of the guys that I played with at that time, the core guys. We were just that determined. I mean, we never really lost a football game. We just ran out of time because anybody that we lost to, we had beaten. You go back and look. Anybody that we lost to, we had beaten during the year. And I was like, wait a minute. Why? And you think about it as years go by, wow. Just on that day, they were better than we were. That's the only thing I can say about it.
Mm-hmm.
My hat's off to them. You can't. You can cry over it, but it's not going to do any good. Just got to know you went there, you did your best, and on that day, you weren't the best.
Darryl Talley, former Buffalo Bills, Falcons, and Vikings linebacker, played at West Virginia, picked off Dan Marino in a bowl game, and returned that for a touchdown as well. We appreciate your time and coming on and reflecting back on those great Bills teams and also what they're doing right now with Josh Allen and that football team. We appreciate your time and good luck and congratulations again on your move into the law school at Stetson with your daughter.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate you guys having me on. And the last thing I'd like to say is go Bills.
Yes, sir.
We got our work cut out.
Darryl Talley, he had all sorts of different nicknames when he played for Buffalo. Spider-Man, the Duke of Awesome, the Hammer. And Rich Stadium had a section called...
Go ahead and read it.
Tallywhackers.
That's a fun group name, fun fan name. He did have a lot of nicknames.
Yeah, my best friend growing up, Billy Garlock, he's from Buffalo. His whole family's from Buffalo. He's a huge Bills fan, and the Cowboys beat them twice in Super Bowls when we were friends, and I'm surprised we're still friends to this day because I was not very mature about how I handled it. But I'll tell you this, I've known Bills fans my whole life. There's a lot of them in South Florida because a lot of people move down there. And you want to talk about a loyal group of fans, and you've seen it, what they've done. The cool thing they did the other day about donating to Lamar Jackson's charity after the game. And that's a group of people in upstate Western New York. Man, they're cool. They have a blast. I want to know, do the waste companies get pissed off picking up all those broken tables?
Oh, yeah.
I've
seen videos of that are just, it's insane. Eagles fans are nuts. But, some of the pregame. I mean, this is when they're lit up before the game. Unfortunately, again, it's just not the same. But the game is in Kansas City. They have a great history and tradition of what they do, tailgating and much more. Packers at Lambeau Field. You've got the Bills, the Packers, and obviously with Kansas City, those are three great fan bases. The Buccaneers fans, they did experience that one championship. Dungy had left. Gruden came in, won a title, beat the Raiders. Is that right? I was in California for that Super Bowl. I can't remember the kid's name, the Jackson or whoever, who returned an interception for a touchdown in that game. Did the Buccaneers beat the Raiders? Gruden came back to beat the Raiders?
They beat the Raiders, yeah. And it was nuts. I was in Tampa living there.
I was at the game.
That was the Barrett Robbins Super Bowl where he went off to Tijuana the night before the game.
Yeah, he kind of just disappeared.
And so they didn't have their center. And who was the best player on the Bucs, in my opinion, was Warren Sapp. I mean, if you want to say the best overall player,
Derek Brooks
and Warren Sapp. I mean, but Warren Sapp was. There's not been a lot of defensive tackles like him that moved like him.
Yeah.
And you take away your starting center, and Warren Sapp's going to affect that game. That was big. I mean, and Brad Johnson won a Super Bowl. So when people tell me this quarterback
Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl.
This quarterback or that quarterback can't win a Super Bowl. If everything goes right around them, if they're having their best year, they can win. But yeah, I'm still. Did you see before the game? I wanted to mention this to you guys. The pregame they did open with Ray Liotta doing the Goodfellas spoof.
No, I didn't.
Because they call the Bills fans the Bills Mafia, and so they did Ray Liotta, had him read it like it was the beginning of Goodfellas.
I did not see that. That's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
We got to go a couple minutes here, then break, then come back at 4. A couple of notes of interest. Go ahead.
They've got a big challenge this weekend, obviously. I'm not getting too up in arms over the Mahomes concussion talk. I think he'll probably be just fine by the time this weekend rolls around. You never know with those types of things, but I can't remember a scenario where a quarterback of his caliber missed a championship game because of a concussion. I would doubt that that's the case.
Man,
but
he was out too. He was wobbling.
He was hurt. I mean, there's no question about it. But I mean, it's the NFL. It's a championship game. I just assume Mahomes is going to be ready to play, and if he is, then it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to beat Kansas City.
Andy Reid going for it on 4th and inches.
Yeah, that was a ballsy call, and
absolutely couple of brass.
Yeah, no, it was a tremendous call on his part. Casey's just so loaded, but yeah, I mean, outside of the Mahomes head injury, they're overwhelming favorites. I mean, that's the only thing that's making this probably even a close call in most people's minds. So I would love to see Buffalo win. The Chiefs, I still like Patrick Mahomes, but you had yours last year, and you're going to be there again. And I know we say that about guys, and it doesn't happen, but I would be, like, shocked if Patrick Mahomes never sees a Super Bowl again. So I would love to see Buffalo continue this ride since Cleveland can't. I wanted just one of the two to make it, and they're the ones left standing.
A Buffalo Green Bay Super Bowl, it doesn't matter for the NFL's going to draw. You know, they're going to draw. The Super Bowl's going to draw. I know some years up and down or whatever, but Buffalo and Green Bay in the Super Bowl, and that's two of the three smallest markets.
Yeah, Cleveland is not one of the largest. Of course, the Browns the Browns have never been in a Super Bowl.
No.
Much less never won one like Buffalo. Couple of other notes may be of interest. This is stuff that I just print throughout the weekend. Spencer Rattler and Marvin Mims of Oklahoma both made the freshman All-American team. I bring that up because OU had two of those players, but 7 players on the All-American team, the freshman All-American team, were from Texas. That led the country with 7. It's not like it's a huge split, but 7 of the players on that team. I saw Taj Washington, a receiver at Memphis from Marshall. Georgia had 5, and then Florida and Louisiana. You think about the great fertile ground of recruiting. Florida and Louisiana each had 3 teams on the freshman All-American team. Also, tonight's game with Baylor and Kansas, Baylor is a 9.5-point favorite. Now, a 9-point favorite. That's the largest spread that Kansas men's basketball has faced since playing Duke in the 2000 NCAA tournament. Remember, it came in here, all the build-up last year. Baylor hammered them in Lawrence, and they kind of took that game on pretty much from the beginning. And it was a great run by Baylor at the end, but Kansas came away with the win.
Jared Butler had a point-blank 3 to tie it.
Yep, it was a hell of a game. Absolutely one heck of a game. I don't know if you saw this or not. I know we got to go against a break, but Armstrong at SportsCenter, or maybe you could find either Dak Prescott or at SportsCenter. This was an NFL meme of Tom Brady in a Bucs uniform. NFC Championship game appearances since 1997. Tom Brady 1, Cowboys nothing. Actually, you can go back to 96 because they didn't play that year either. Years in the NFC since 1997, Tom Brady 1, Cowboys 24. Dak then tweeted out to Zeke, "Hold my crutches."
Yeah, I mean, I said it earlier, but to be with a completely brand new team, I mean, I know they brought in Gronk and they've got talented players. It's not like he's taking the Bad News Bears to the Super Bowl, but you know, the Bucs are in the championship game, and you know, it's just an incredible run by him to have another team there. But yeah, I mean, you could say that for a lot of different teams other than the Cowboys, but I know they're the fun ones to poke on.
When we come back, a couple of notes from Baylor getting ready for tonight's game with Kansas. We heard from associate head coach Jerome Tang. Jason King in studio with SicEm365.com, college basketball national writer, thefield68.com. He'll join us at 5:30. Phil Bennett, we will have him again, but not as consistently as we had negotiated, he and I last week and on Monday night. And he'll join us today at 5 o'clock and discuss the opportunity at North Texas for a young man that he coached at Oklahoma and Seth Luttrell. But he'll be on with us as well today at 5 o'clock. So all of that and more. And we got feedback, Armstrong, on Paul's top 5. There's the Brady, there's the tweet. And then Dak responded to Zeke, "Hold my crutches." That's hilarious. Great sense of humor. We got feedback on the Nickelodeon top 5.
Oh, did
it
we?
was yes. I got a couple of people who tweeted at me.
Feverish.
Yeah. We'll come back. We'll not come back with that, but we'll have that at some point today as well. When we come back, Baylor on tonight's game with Kansas. Some comments plus what was Kim Mulkey trying to say, and did she say it just maybe wrong, or can you read between the lines? And I know some of you loved it. Some of you didn't like it at all. We'll get into that as well today at 4 o'clock coming up next. This is SicEm365 Radio. PettyClinicLowT.com. If you want to be the high-performance man you want to be, then contact PettyClinicLowT.com. Here's how you do it. Get online. You can call them. You can talk to them. Buy online. You can get in touch with them. Tell them Smokey sent you. And if you want to be the high-performance man that you're not, or you haven't been, or you don't feel all that great now, or haven't been for a while, it could be simple. That your testosterone level has dropped as you've gotten older. It could be many things as well. But that is one that can happen. It happens. It's father time. There's not much you can do about it. Sometimes You're one out of every 3 men that has symptomatic issues when it comes to low testosterone. Get online, get an appointment. They'll set you up with blood work. Tell them Smokey sent you, get a discounted rate. And then Dr. Petty will look at your overall testosterone level, and if it's too low, he'll put you in a program to help you become the high-performance man you want to be at pettycliniclowt.com.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Arturo Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
There's a reason both of us are top 5 in the country defensively. Nothing is easy, and the scheme. I mean, Texas has a top 6, 7, 5, whatever their latest ranking is. Defense. Kansas is way up there, so everybody's a little bit different. But the one thing that's constant is really good one-on-one defenders, and really make it tough to get anything easy.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, we've heard from Jerome Tang. We'll hear from Jason King on Baylor and Kansas. Number 2 against number 9 tonight, just after 8 o'clock at the Farrell Center. Also, here's a note. We're going to hear from Scott Drew and a couple of notes in Macy Teague. Here's something I thought of interest. So the Big 12 Player of the Week was Texas Tech's Matt McClung, right? Hit the big shot to beat Texas. Everyone who's been a Big 12 Player of the Week plays at the following schools: West Virginia, Texas, TCU, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and Texas Tech. Baylor's number 2 in the country and unbeaten, and yet they have not had a Big 12 Player of the Week. That doesn't mean they don't have anyone deserving. They just haven't won that. And doesn't that kind of signify who they are?
Yeah, I think it means that you have a lot of guys who are sharing the basketball, and a lot of times you win Big 12 Player of the Week because you go nuts like McClung did the other night against Texas, or you have, these key moments. The other thing is Baylor hasn't had to win a game at the buzzer. They haven't had to make a big play at the end of a game to win it. The closest game they played was on Saturday. In the last 2-3 minutes, it was pretty well in hand. I mean, they were controlling it. I mean, obviously, it was 8 points, and at any time, Tech can hit a couple threes and make that 2 points, but, they were in control.
Yeah, I think it's just it's more of a team than it is an individual. But some of these other teams, it matters more that they won some of these games, whereas Baylor's sort of expected to win these games. So, it would take a big outpouring of points or just a ridiculous rebound number. I feel like in a game like tonight, I think it's a game like tonight. Like if somebody had a standout game, is where you could see them being named Big 12 Player of the Week, so long as you take care of your business the rest of the way. But I just think there are a lot of good parts put together to make a great puzzle instead of just a great part, with a lot of good around it. So, those will come in time, I think, as long as you just keep winning games. But there's definitely not like a standout guy. I mean, Jared Butler would be that the most, I suppose. But there's not really a standout performance, I suppose, for these voters.
All right. So, again, that game just after 8 o'clock, Baylor, Kansas. So, Scott Drew. He was in a media session with the media, obviously, yesterday evening, a little bit after 5 o'clock. It was a media session with the media. Mm-hmm. Last year, there was so much hype on this game. Didn't have the same buildup as this one because, again, there's not going to be as many people in the Farrell Center. Even though it's Kansas, it's a big deal. Kansas, I hear this term or word that maybe they're somewhat vulnerable. Texas beat the hell out of them in Lawrence, but they always seem to bounce back. They've lost a couple of times, lost to Oklahoma State, and they always find a way to get to the end of the year and still be in the mix. But last year, Baylor beat them in Lawrence, then came back with a massive crowd, lost to KU, and Scott Drew on any motivation from that game.
I think everybody gets motivated differently. I know our players have obviously heard it, and until someone continually beats Kansas, then it's factual and true. So again, credit Coach Self for the program that he's established and built there, and how many championships they've won in the toughest league in the country, 6 out of the last 7 years.
So Kansas has lost. It seemed like a ton. What are they, like 6-7, 8-2, whatever their record might be? Still ranked in the top 10. The game against Texas at home was a blowout. They've lost 3 games.
Yeah, they're 10-3.
10-3, but still ranked number 9 in the country. By the way, you see where Duke is out of the top 25 for the first time since 2006 or something like
darn.
that. Should have been knocked out a long time ago. Really, I mean, they're in the top 25 because they're a 4-letter word as far as to the ballot, to the voters. But Kansas is still dangerous. Here's Scott Drew on the Jayhawks.
Just watching a lot of film in a short period of time, because you watch people, but you don't study them until you're ready to play them. And Coach Self does an amazing job always adjusting his scheme to fit his personnel. And I know they lost a tough one at Oklahoma State, but again, it's a talented team that he puts them in the right positions to be successful. They're getting better, and you got to be a good team to be top 10 in the nation for most of the year. I think the whole year, probably.
Watch Marcus Garrett of Kansas and Jared Butler of Baylor. They both love to play against each other, but know the others are going to torment the other. Marcus Garrett shut Butler not down, but was a problem last year. And he's now their point guard. Last year they had the point guard that got hurt early.
Dotson, yeah.
He was fantastic. But watch that if they go up against each other. Marcus Garrett, although, again, Davion Mitchell's Baylor's point guard, he's tall and lanky, and that ought to be one heck of a matchup between those two as well. And on top of that, Baylor coming off the win against Texas Tech. We mentioned the story by C.J. Moore about Jonathan Tchamwa-Tchatchoua. And here's Scott Drew on what Texas Tech did against Everyday John.
I've always said this, and I don't know if it's accurate or not, but usually the first time you play in a loud arena, hostile arena, and again, I said this after game, really credit Tech for the environment they created and had. But that for first-time guys getting used to that, normally it's a little different. And a couple of those he was just a little rushed, a little nervous. Some of it you got to definitely credit Tech's defense. I mean, they had 9 blocks. They got a lot of 6'6" to 6'8" athletic guys who can play above the rim, and we got to do a better job finishing. And the good thing with, Jonathan's only played 40 games or whatever the number is, so he continues to get better and better. And this was first time in that kind of environment, and I'm sure it'll be better the next time.
Yeah, it's a great story again by C.J. Moore. Oh, that's my reminder to talk to DJ for us as well. I need to text him. So then MaCio Teague and the quick turnaround, Saturday to Monday, a tough knockdown, drag-out game in Lubbock, a road trip. You get back sometime late Saturday, and now they have Kansas on Monday in the quick turnaround.
I just feel like it's getting us ready for the NCAA tournament. So I feel like at the end it's preparing us for what our end goal is, and which is winning a national championship. So yes, it's definitely difficult, but we're definitely determined to get a win tomorrow.
You know, Jared Butler did not shoot the ball well. He had a lot of other stats in that game. He had a lot of the other stats, a huge rebound in that game. But he didn't shoot well. But when they needed a couple of clutch shots, who made the shots?
He did, and that's kind of what this team is right now. And that, like, Jared Butler can have an off night, and there were years where if the star player at Baylor had an off night, then everybody had an off night. But now it doesn't seem to really be that contagious anymore. Davion Mitchell carried them offensively early in the game. MaCio Teague had stretches where he carried them offensively. They got some good stuff out of Adam Flagler. So, everything that's kind of come together this season for Baylor is kind of amazing in that there are teams, good teams. I mean, teams that had NCAA tournament runs, that if the star guy was as off as Jared Butler was for the first 30 minutes of that game the other day, that was just a loss. Just chalk it up, it was a loss. Not anymore.
He does the little things. And I saw a little bit of a chatter on the boards about Mark Vital. Mark Vitals, is he not the same player?
From Fran Fraschilla. Fran Fraschilla is the one that said that. He said, I don't want to come out and say anything, or I forget how he phrased it. He was trying to be very respectful, but he said Mark Vital's not the same player that he was last year. He flat out said that. And Mark Vital responded like, get out of here. But I'd imagine that either that was conversation that followed what Fran Fraschilla said, or maybe it was conversation that was already on the board. I don't know, but I do recall seeing that Fran Fraschilla tweet and Mark Vital's response to it.
Mark is he's very open with his feelings on Twitter, about a lot of things, about depression, about many things that student athletes face, about games being shut down. I mean, he's been very vocal. I get it.
2 games in, he was already throwing out like the very... Yeah, there it is. There's the Fran Fraschilla tweet. It's painful for me to say this, but this is not the same Baylor men's basketball Mark Vital of last season. Is he in shape? Would love to see that fire again. And then there was Mark responding, obviously, in a fun way. But, yeah, I think that's probably where the board conversation stemmed from, was that comment from Fraschilla, who's not going to say that if he doesn't mean it, obviously, and not going to make a comment out of nowhere like that. So he clearly was watching that Baylor game on Saturday and has watched others, and just has the feeling that Vital's not quite the same guy that he was last year.
Well, I love the fact that's how he feels, and he's a fan of Mark Vital. Remember Bob Huggins and some of those guys, a guy that doesn't even average double digits. Could he ever be in the mix for Player of the Year? No, that's just not going to happen because we look at the scores or whatever, or some big guy that has 15 rebounds and double doubles and blocks and all that.
I'll predict this. I bet you Mark Vital, in the next couple of weeks, you'll see him do something he did do last year. I mean, just because he did. And
well, if in fact you're locked in and focused.
Yeah. Part of it, though, and that's about what I was going to get into, this Baylor team hasn't been challenged yet. Has Mark Vital had to do some of the crazy things that he did in the past? Not really. I mean, like, have they really been challenged? And that was a concern. Jason King, who's on the show at 5:30, that was one of his concerns. This was the first tough game they've had since Illinois, and they controlled that Illinois game in the second half.
5 rebounds, 5 points.
Missed free throws, and you kind of allow these games to be close, if anything.
11 blocks. Yeah, I don't know how many steals he has. 15 steals, 16 turnovers. But he hit 2 free throws. Let me tell you something. Butler and Mitchell missed some free throws. He hit 2 big ones, hit them both. I was sitting there going, man, he misses these 2. Here comes a flip of the switch, and he hit both of them.
What is it about this team in free throws?
I don't know.
Because
they shoot 69% from the field, or 69%. The opponents shoot 67. I thought they shoot like 60, 65% from the field.
Yeah, I don't know. That's sort of surprising, but that has been an issue in the past, and it was an issue on Saturday. And yeah, I don't know I don't know where that comes from, because they're so good at everything, right? That it's just sort of surprising. And I don't know, maybe it's just we focus too much on the misses, and it's not as grave as maybe it seems like. But if there is a weakness on this team, wouldn't you have to say it's that if you get in a late game situation and that you're going to the free throw line, that you're not fully confident they're going to be able to ice this thing away?
Yeah, that just seemed like, I wonder if it's not boredom. It could be just flat out focus that, you can hit the 22-footer, you can hit the 17-footer, you can hit all sorts. But, and Jared Butler, I was thinking Jared Butler's 24 of 34 at the free throw line. That's 70%. 70% for a guy who gets the ball in his hands a lot. You would think he needs to be an 80% free throw shooter or better, and that could be something. Free throws, people look at free throws and the game is on the line. To me, it's even when you're trying to extend the lead or come back from the lead. Those are just as important than, of course, the clutch one that can win a game.
Yeah, it's like, free throws, a couple minutes left to go in the game's like hitting a field goal when you're up a single score.
There you go.
And you get a 10-point lead all of a sudden. And, yeah, I mean, it's not what you want. You want to score touchdowns, obviously. You want to beat everybody by 20. But if you're in a close game, kick that field goal, a.k.a. hit your 2 free throws, and it gives you a little something. But I seem to recall Scott Drew back in the offseason, he was talking about Jared Butler, and he brought up free throws, and he brought up a percentage that he was hoping – I think I'm remembering that correctly – that if he said – because I asked him if he could work on something or if they needed to work on something with Jared's game, what would it be? And I'm pretty sure it was free throw percentage. I don't remember the mark that he said, but I would imagine it's probably higher than the mark that he has right now. I don't know that, though, for sure.
A little bit after 8 o'clock, Baylor in Kansas, number 2 against number 9. Baylor off the win against Texas Tech in Lubbock. When we come back, Fox Sports analyst, former Cowboys fullback, the Moose, Daryl Johnston, on the NFC Championship game and the AFC Championship game. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. They've got a lot of great deals going on right now at Richard Carr, and they want you to take full advantage of them. 2021 is here. We're half a month into 2021 now at this point. Still the new year, and so make your new year great. Start it big with the New Year New Ride Savings event at Richard Carr. Right now, you can save $8,500 on a 2021 GMC Sierra SLE Crew Cab truck. Sierra is the best truck on the road. It's got big haul power, first-class comfort and ride, plus unbeatable technology. Maybe you're looking for a top-of-the-line, mid-size SUV. Well, Richard Carr's offering $6,250 off of 2021 GMC Terrains. You can also save $4,500 off on the stylish, intelligent, and nimble 2021 Buick Encore GX, which includes on-the-go Alexa technology. And during the New Year New Ride Savings event, all pre-owned cars and trucks are priced to move with amazing deals all over the lot, including cars and SUVs for under $137 a month for qualified buyers. If your credit stinks like 2020, well, it's a new year, and in 2021, 100% credit approval is their goal. Bring your tax refund or your stimulus check to Richard Carr, and they will stimulate your stimulus with even bigger savings that will pay off for years. Go to Richard Carr Motors today for details and a test drive, or log on to richardcarr.com now and have them bring the test drive to you. Make 2021 the best year ever, starting with a new car or truck during the New Year New Ride Savings event at Richard Carr.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Learning to navigate life in the COVID-19 world has been a struggle, and where and how to get tested has been one of the biggest challenges. Impact Health Labs has your answer. If you need mass testing for your office, church, dormitory, or school, Impact Health Labs is who to call. They will come to you, conduct the testing at your location, and have the test back within 24 hours. Most major insurance accepted, meaning your out-of-pocket cost is low. So no more waiting by the phone for days to find out the results. Impact Health Labs was founded by 3 Army licensed and credentialed medical professionals. They believe in accuracy, efficiency, and doing the job right. Call 254-744-6233 to set up your group screening today. Impact Health Labs, on-site, prompt, and accurate, taking COVID-19 head-on. Again, that number is 254-744-6233 or online at impacthealthlabs.com.
What you do in privacy is your own business. What you do in public with your truck, well, that's our business at Pickup Outfitters. In your garage, it's okay for your truck to parade around in the nude with no accessories. Hey, this is still America. But when you bring your truck out in public, it's just common decency to put an outfit on your truck. And that's where we come in at Pickup Outfitters. Put a cover on that bed. Cover your rear end with a bumper and a hitch, for goodness sakes. There are women and children on the roads. And guys, don't leave your tools exposed. Put them in a toolbox. Be proud of your truck and stand tall with a lift kit. Or improve your truck's posture with a leveling kit. Add some class to your pickup with new wheels and tires. Or dress up for a date with your new RV or boat with a fifth wheel or a receiver hitch. At Pickup Outfitters, we're dedicating to making the roads decent for all Central Texans. So when taking your truck out in public, remember your manners and accessorize it properly with an outfit from Pickup Outfitters. 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Waco's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driving force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, yoga and bar classes by Duality Yoga, Bod Pod potty composition analysis, and registered dietitians, all under one roof, where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be a part of the change, your change.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The Sic'em365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
So the championship games, Tampa Bay at Green Bay at Lambeau Field. Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. How about that one for a marquee matchup? And the Bills and Josh Allen, who's been spectacular at Kansas City against what we think or who we think might be Patrick Mahomes after he took that fall on that option zone read yesterday in the game that they won against Cleveland. We're now joined by Fox Sports analyst and former Cowboys great Daryl Johnston. He was there when the Packers took care of business on Saturday. Joins us on SicEm365 Radio. DJ, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. These are some big-time names with the quarterbacks. I know Josh Allen's the younger player, but your thoughts about Mahomes, Brady, and Rodgers among that as well?
Yeah, it's going to be awesome next weekend. I'm always a little bit more excited for championship game day than Super Bowl day, just because there's usually two great games. So I don't think we're going to get disappointed this year. I agree with you about Josh, maybe the youngest of the four, or actually the youngest of the four, but playing really, really well. And I had a feeling Cleveland, Kansas City was going to be tight. I agree with you. I think Patrick Mahomes will be on the field next week. But I think it's going to be interesting to see that Buffalo defense, that Buffalo run game, some similar structure to what Cleveland does, how they play the game, but maybe a quarterback who's a little bit harder right now and given a little bit more liberty outside the system to make plays than Baker Mayfield. And, who could ask for anything more than Tom Brady going up to Lambeau Field? And I know that Green Bay has been hoping that this matchup would come up because we had them early in the season. We actually asked Aaron Rodgers about the Tampa Bay game, and he said, hey, it's an outlier. He goes, we were horrible. We couldn't run the ball. We couldn't pick up a blitz. It was kind of the beginning of our offensive line shakeup. He goes, that's not us. So I know that the Green Bay Packers are excited for another opportunity to play against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
What is it about Aaron Rodgers this year in particular? I mean, he's been great pretty much the whole time, but this year is like no other. And all people have done have talked about how the Packers haven't given him weapons, and it hasn't mattered.
Well, I think a little bit is kind of the growth and development of the other guys around Devontae Adams. Robert Tonyan's just had a breakout year. Equanimous St. Brown has grown up. Marquez Valdes-Scantling has grown up, doing a nice job. I think Aaron Jones is an outstanding running back. I don't think he gets enough credit. He and Jamal Williams, a really nice running back by committee set there. So I think the weapons were already there. They just maybe have grown and matured a little bit this year. But the big thing is I think everybody really has an understanding of the offense. And this is an offense that's moved around the NFL. It starts with Kyle Shanahan and then Sean McVay and now Matt LaFleur, and everybody puts their own kind of spin on it. But this is really the first time we've seen this offense run with a quarterback the caliber of Aaron Rodgers. And I think that's the important thing that everybody has to remember. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, it was Robert Griffin III, up in Washington when it was Mike Shanahan and Kyle Shanahan. Jared Goff has had his ups and downs with Sean McVay with the Rams. None of those guys compare to Aaron Rodgers. So to get him comfortable and to believe in this system and kind of put your spin on it where it fits your personnel, they're just playing with a tremendous amount of confidence. And it's very, very impressive to watch.
Do you feel like we watched Drew Brees play his last football game? And if so, what do you think of the way he went out?
Well, I know that was the feeling going into the game, but I don't think Drew Brees anticipated a performance like he had against Tampa Bay last night. I don't know if that changes his mind. I see him as a competitor that probably would not want to have that as his last performance for a franchise that he's elevated to the level that he has for New Orleans. So I think when you commit to a decision like that, you're going to stay with it. I think he's gonna think long and hard about coming back for maybe one more after last night. But I also wouldn't be surprised if he was content with the decision. And I've seen some things where he supposedly talked to Jameis Winston last night at the end of the game and said, "This is your team now." So at that point, he's comfortable with walking away. So I hope it's not his last game. I still think he's got a little bit of juice left in the tank. 11 cracked ribs down the stretch, back in the lineup. He's not 100%, and he's still out there, giving it everything he's got. I'd love to see him come back one more year. Not everybody gets the John Elway, Michael Strahan, Jerome Bettis, where you get to sail off into the sunset after a Super Bowl victory. But I know that's probably a tough one for Drew to finish on.
Daryl, when the Bills are in this championship game, and it's been since they played you in a championship in the Super Bowl, and obviously you guys dominated those Super Bowls, winning 3 out of 4. How much, when you prepared for Super Bowl 27 in L.A. that week, in the week before, how much what were you guys worried about? The offense, how dangerous was that team that Buffalo had?
Oh, they were very talented. Very talented. You don't make it to 4 consecutive Super Bowls without having a ton of talent. You look at the players on both sides of the ball back then. I mean, there's Hall of Famers everywhere. So we had a ton of respect for Buffalo and the fact that they had gone to the Super Bowl the 2 previous years and we're back again for the 3rd time in a row, and then the following year, the 4th time in a row. But we didn't fear them, and that's one of the things that I try to tell when my kids were playing sports and when I was coaching them when they were younger is you respect all your opponents, but you never fear them. And that's how we were with Buffalo. We were young, but we were confident. I think a lot of people thought we were still maybe a year away. Even when we went to San Francisco, I think that opened a few eyes when we were able to knock off San Francisco at Candlestick in the championship game. And then, a lot of people talked about, the turnovers that happened in Buffalo, but that was something that our defense saw. That was something that they talked about doing all week. They felt like they're going to have opportunities to get turnovers. You've seen Jimmy talk about that. in some of the shows, going back and talking about Super Bowl 27, there was a lot of confidence that they were going to be able to put the offense on short fields.
Okay, Buffalo's back in the Super Bowl. Moose, how do you get the Cowboys back in the Super Bowl?
You've got to get your consistency. This was a tough year to make a coaching change. So there were some challenges there. I know Sean McDermott. I thought it was a perfect fit for Sean McDermott. I was disappointed when he didn't get the job in Philadelphia because he checked every box that Jeff Lurie had. And, especially he had grown up in Philadelphia. He knew what the Philadelphia Eagles franchise was all about. He was a Philadelphia fan growing up. And that's important to Jeff Lurie with his hire. And he chose Doug Peterson over Sean McDermott. And I told him, I said, I always wondered why. And if you're going to go to a fan base besides Philadelphia, Buffalo's the closest thing, and maybe even surpasses Philadelphia in certain ways. This community, when you get this turned around, I knew he was going to get it turned around. I said, this community will embrace you in a way you've never seen before, except maybe in Philadelphia. So I knew he was going to get it there. And that's just what Dallas needs. They need a couple of years. They need to get the consistency. They need to be able to develop through the draft. I mean, that's what Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane have done up in Buffalo. They've done a really nice job. They had a plan when they came in day one, year one, and they stuck to it. And there's been some bumps in the road, but they've only deviated when they've had to, and they've been able to rebound and overcome some adversity. So, that's what Dallas needs to do. I love the Dan Quinn hire. He's one of my favorites in the NFL. He's great at building culture within your locker rooms and on your team. I think he's going to be very, very complimentary to Mike McCarthy. I think they're a little bit different in their personalities and their styles, and I think what Dan Quinn brings to the table is going to be a huge upside. So I expect to see a really big jump next year. I really do. Now, you've got to retool your defense again. What Dan Quinn is going to ask his guys on defense to do was much more similar to what Rod Marinelli had, as opposed to what Mike Nolan and Jim Tomsula were trying to establish. So you're going to have to unwind a little bit, but I expect that defense to be much better next year.
Moose, there's nobody that would argue Tom Brady's greatness. I mean, maybe where he is greatest of all time, but no one could argue how great he is. And this year, it just seems almost a little bit different because now he's with a completely new team, completely new coach. What do you make of the job done in Tampa and putting this thing together? He's obviously got a lot of talent around him, but just to see Brady back in a championship game, but on the opposite side of the conferences, no Belichick. What do you think of Brady and the Bucs?
Yeah, it's been pretty amazing. I think the big thing is they never wavered. There were some times, early in the season, midpoint of the season, where they were not playing good football, especially offensively. People started to talk about the fit, going from the style of offense that Tom had played in New England to the style of play that Bruce Arians installed with Byron Leftwich in Tampa Bay. It's more vertical down the field. It just took a while for them to grow together. And I think they understood that. They didn't have the off season. It's hard to do things virtually. I mean, you can understand the X's and O's, but you don't understand the subtleties of all the different players. And it's going to take Tom Brady a while to understand exactly how Chris Godwin runs a route. It's going to take him a while to understand, where are the mismatches for Mike Evans. You bring in Rob Gronkowski and you got him there, but Cameron Brate is a pretty darn good tight end. He was a difference maker yesterday. There was a lot of weapons there that he just had to get comfortable with and how they run the routes and what are the subtleties and the real details about that offense. And I don't believe in the adage that it's hard to beat a team 3 times in one season. If you're better than they are, it's not hard. My whole thing going into the game last night was, New Orleans had not only beaten Tampa Bay twice, but beaten them handily twice. My fear was the Saints were not playing football in the month of December as well as they were earlier, and Tampa Bay was really starting to hit their stride. So that was the best team won in that game last night. That's not to say that what New Orleans accomplished during the course of the year against Tampa Bay, shouldn't have happened. It should have. At that time they were the better team. But what we're seeing right now is a Tampa Bay Buccaneer team that not only has really played well offensively, but boy, that defense was something else. So they're playing really, really good complementary football. Maybe better than Green Bay is right now. So that's going to be a great game next weekend.
Isn't that crazy that he's already back in another championship game? He leaves New England, as Craig mentioned, and he's in his 14th championship game. 14 of it, twice as many as Montana played.
We thought that Moose and the Cowboys played a lot back in the day, you know?
Yeah, right? I mean, so there was something on NFL memes today that was unbelievable. So it's the NFC Championship game appearances since 1997. Tom Brady 1, Dallas Cowboys 0. Years of the NFC since 1997. Tom Brady 1, Dallas Cowboys 24.
Yeah.
It's pretty remarkable stuff for him.
Yeah, it is. Anything else, guys, for DJ? Hey, Daryl, thanks for jumping on. I know it's been a busy time. Good luck the rest of the way. Thanks for your time. We appreciate you all, what you represent as well.
Thank you so much, David. Always good to catch up with you. Enjoy the games on Sunday.
You too. That's Daryl Johnston of Fox Sports, former Cowboys great Moose, one of the most popular players in the history of that franchise. Of course, anytime he'd catch a pass or moo, you heard the roars. And, you hear about Aikman, Emmett, Irvin, those names, Haley, etc., but he was as popular as any of them.
I had a dog named Dallas when I was a young kid, and it was mine and my sister's dog, Dallas, and we were debating over what to name it, and I wanted to name it Moose because when you watch the Cowboys, I wanted when Moose would get the ball and you'd hear it, I want the dog to go nuts.
Dog to go nuts.
I thought it'd be fun.
Like twice a game.
Yeah. But my sister was probably 8, 9 years old at the time, did not think that was a great name, so we settled on Dallas.
Yeah,
but
it's a nice
he was
compromise.
really, I mean, like, his middle name was Moose.
Dallas Moose, Catalina.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of funny when you think of those Bills teams from back during that mid-'90s run. We just talked to one of them, Darryl Talley, and as much as you can rip off names like Aikman and Emmett and Irvin and all those guys, you can name just as many Bills players. It's crazy how talented they were as well, and to never have won it and been 0 for 4. But, it's remarkable that Brady's back to this point, and I wasn't going to ask Moose about this, but did y'all see the suit he was wearing yesterday?
Oh, yeah. It was kind of a brownish.
It was different. It was different.
I wish we could find a picture of it. It almost, did it have those the elbow...
The patches
on it?
Yeah. It was just a different kind of fabric, but I had a couple of my female family members who are texting me like, y'all, because we were all watching the game. It's just like, hey, do you watch what Moose is wearing? Like, that's what they were caught up on rather than the game itself. But yeah, I wasn't going to ask him about that or who styles him or anything like that, but it was just kind of funny. And just saw this.
I think it's his wife that does.
Oh, is it? Okay.
She's very much into fashion, yeah.
Gotcha. So it's probably like super fashionable, and I'm just so out of that loop that I don't know any better. But the NFL's just informed clubs on the Combine this year. There will be no in-person workouts. There will be pro days on the campuses instead. So I don't really know who. I guess William Bradley King would be like the one guy Baylor really has in the mix this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a little bit different looking. It was like, okay.
I have no idea if that's it or not. That's just
I don't. I think it was a little bit different from that.
That's a good look too.
Yeah, that's a solid look, but I think it was a little bit different. No, okay, that was it actually. Yeah,
no, because it says divisional playoffs in the background.
Yeah, that was it. It just looked even funkier on TV yesterday, but I'm sure that's fashionable. So, anyways, the Combine. No in-person workouts, all virtual interviews. Workouts will be the pro days on campus. Psychological testing will also be virtual. Limited in-person medical exams that will likely occur in early April. So those are all changes happening with the Combine. And normally in Indianapolis, and now it's going to be just virtual pretty much.
Yeah, you wonder with William Bradley King, and maybe there's another, I don't know about Burton, I don't know about the other, but you wonder... Usually Baylor's had a pretty nice run of their pro days, and they measure the length of your fingers, your shoulder, everything. I've seen them. We used to be able to get into where the weight room was when they were doing that and calling out the weights. And I snuck in one time with Gil Brandt when he sits in the meetings. One of the biggest, most important parts of that is when coaches are in a meeting, and for example, Randy Clemens was out front talking and answering every question about a player. Every question, and that's going to all have to be by phone call and Zoom.
Since you were with Gil, how much free Baylor stuff did y'all walk away with?
He got all of it.
That man always goes home with gifts, that's for sure. But
another quick story on go ahead.
Yeah, just the pro day is going to be weird because it's not. I wouldn't imagine it's going to be highly attended to begin with. No. Because again, like who is there from Baylor? Like this might be. Trying to think like after the 2016 season or the 2017 season maybe, but.
It'd almost be better if they just had it
Air Pro Day,
3 or 4 in the state of Texas. Or
like have TC, Texas, everybody together.
RG3's looking for a new team. His contract, I actually sent him a couple of texts over the weekend after they lost. The Baltimore lost. He's on injured reserve. Today, the Ravens waived him. He's a free agent starting in March, so he was going to be looking for another team anyway. So now that just gives his agent a couple of extra months, not as if they weren't already trying to maybe nibble around. He's made probably close to what would be, Paul, $100 million over his career.
So, yeah.
I think his signing bonus I thought I added all that up. It's probably somewhere near $30 or $40 million over his career. But he's a free agent technically immediately. He was going to be. Here's a quote from him earlier today. He never really said that, but then the story came out. Thank you, Armstrong. As year 8 comes to a close, I just want to thank you, my teammates, fans, Ravens organization. This season was a trying one with a lot of adversity. No better people for the job. Honored to be a part of the brotherhood with y'all, and also best is yet to come. So RG3 now is a free agent on the free agent market.
Well, they were really talking up Tyler Huntley as like the next backup quarterback and the heir apparent to Lamar Jackson. I don't know about heir apparent, but like their young quarterback that they're excited about. And when I saw him come in the game, I was just like, yeah, writing's probably on the wall for RG3. I just kind of figured that.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson, he just, he finally got a playoff win. He was the MVP a year ago, and he's got, just no different than a golfer that hasn't won a major, right? He's going to have to deal with that a little bit. All right, when we come back, Verkedrick Vaughns, we've had him on a couple of times since we began the show. Craig, you got to be close to him, done podcasts with him or so. He contacted me over the weekend. He was in the high school coaching. He's on the staff at West Mesquite with oh, my goodness, another former with Mo Porter. He got out of the coaching profession. He's trying to do something with athletes and a new business, and I said, hey, we'll bring you on. 5 o'clock, Phil Bennett, who will be the North Texas defensive coordinator, and then today at 5:30, Jason King on the Baylor and Kansas game will be in studio. This is SicEm365 Radio. Received this text over the weekend from Brian Bauer. Throughout this week, select New York strip steak anywhere from $6.99 a pound to $10.99 a pound when it comes to prime New York strip steak. Fresh chicken wings, $2.99 a pound. Hot dogs, $2.99 a pound. Also, 2 pounds of 16 to 20 size easy peel shrimp for $12.99 a pound. Frozen 3 hamburger patty cases at $29.99. And even fried pies at $1 a piece. The bakery this week, goodies that include croissant, fresh breads, muffins, pecan twist, chocolate overload cake, rainbow cream cake, and also banana foster cake and New York cheesecake. They've got various specials on that as well. Also, the Bauer family who lost their father, and Mrs. Bauer lost her husband, they received a letter in the mail from Baylor president Linda Livingstone over the weekend that just rocked his world, if you want to say, in the best of ways. It was very classy. The president at Baylor sent the Bauer family her condolences from the Baylor family. Thought that was cool because Brian's dad, David, was such a huge Baylor fan. Waco Custom Marketplace, WacoCustomMarketplace.com. And don't forget, it's not too early to start wondering what you're going to have for Super Bowl Sunday, even though there's still conference championship weekends coming up at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Born and Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to SicEm365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
MP Electric has developed a quality-oriented electrical contracting service in more than 20 years in the industry. Led by President Mark Perry, our electricians go through a 5-year apprenticeship program, are licensed by the state of Texas, and getting continuous education annually upon renewal. In great part, the success of MP Electric lies with its management and professional expertise of its employees. All of our employees share a dedication to quality and commitment to serving the needs of our customers. For new construction and remodels, parking lot, lighting and surge protection, landscape lights, security lights, troubleshooting and repairs. For industrial manufacturing, food and beverage, paper and publishing, heavy industry, cement and rock crushing plants, water distribution plants, and utilities. For 20 years, MP Electric has serviced industrial, commercial, and residential products. We do service right. MP Electric Inc. at 1890 Galaxy Road, Waco. MPElectricUSA.com.
It's time to be brutally honest with yourself. Look in the mirror or weigh yourself. Do you weigh as much, more, or less than you did before the holidays or a year ago? Why not start the year in better shape than how you ended it and create momentum for 2021 and help strip the negative vibes, tension, pressure, and extra pounds from the crazy of 2020? It's time right now to join Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness. It's so much more than a gym, including world-class tennis courts, lessons available with pros, fitness merchandise, tanning, massage, personal training to get you over the hump. I promise you'll look better and feel better than ever before. Just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Court. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp, spacious, clean workout room, free weights, Cybex cardio equipment, and no intimidation, a tremendous camaraderie and family atmosphere. So make this your best and healthiest year ever. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Are you a SicEm365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at SicEm365.com.
We have had Kedrick Vaughn's former Baylor safety on before. Remember, also recently he joined the staff at West Mesquite High School to be a part of the staff with Frank Sandoval. He contacted me over the weekend. He is starting a new business trying to help athletes. And Kedrick Vaughn's joins us now on SicEm365 Radio. Craig Smoak, David Smoak, and Paul Catalina. Kedrick, good afternoon, young man. Thanks for your time.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and well, you reached out to me about Kedrick Vaughn's synergy. Let's kind of get this. What kind of made you change your mind, change course, and also what you're trying to do with your business?
Okay, so been an athlete all my life. The pandemic, it took the game away from all of us for a little bit. So it gave me the motivation to create for myself and make a way. And so I started the Kedrick Vaughn's Synergy, and it's more than just my name. The VVS diamond is a diamond that cannot be detected by the human eye. And so basically I refer that to as, no one can detect your future besides you and God. And the synergy part comes from everyone feeds off energy, and synergy combines purposeful service to heal the earth and each other, and rewarding those working towards a common goal. No matter the race, we are here to help one another. And so that's basically the more of what the VVS brand stands for.
So what kind of things will you be working on and working with people?
Okay, so it's a bunch of things. It's just a major platform just for myself. I teach forex trading. I have my VVS merch on there, and I also have a VVS one-stop shop. And the VVS one-stop shop is basically like Amazon. a lot of it's just another way to drop ship and create for yourself instead of people going to Amazon. They can come to my site and order the same things because I get it from the same vendors. And also I am about to release a mentorship program with VBS because, like I said before, I want to teach athletes or inform them that they can create for themselves outside of sports because one day it does have to end. And I'm really passionate about, after the pandemic, everything was at a standstill for quite a bit. And so if you don't create for yourself, it's like you don't have much.
For Kedrick, who would you consider someone or some people who were there for you in your transitional stage that you were helped by the way you hope to help others? A real big part of the transition was my dad. First of all, he was there for me through everything. But a guy who was there was my AD from Mesquite ISD, Cody Groves. He's a big help of why I am who I am today. I've been in contact with him since my sophomore year of high school, and I've never left and never stopped that relationship.
For Kedrick, what is the biggest mistake that you've seen student athletes make while they're still in school and have an opportunity to get a degree, whether it's Baylor or elsewhere, but they're focused so much on athletics or maybe the time that they don't realize that career could come to an end at any time?
I think the biggest thing is networking outside of your sport. Just in general, it don't have to be football. In general, it's like making those relationships outside of sports because that's what's going to take you a long way. And that's one thing that I focus on. And once you're an athlete, you get drawn in and so tunnel vision on your sport that you forget about the outside world, and because that's the reality. And so that's one thing that I would say that needs to be pushed through every university is just networking and getting cool and making relationships outside of football.
For Kedrick, I know that you guys lost a very close friend and a teammate in Chance Waz not that long ago. Did that factor into you going down this path and helping people? I mean, was that ever a thought in your mind?
Most definitely. I'm not really a Twitter guy, but I ran it on Twitter once my guy passed, and I know personally what he was dealing with, and that transition to the real world. It's everybody goes through it as a college athlete, and some make it and some don't. But yeah, that's what motivated me to be a voice and a change within the community.
For Kedrick Vaughns, it's for Kedrick Vaughns Synergy, former Baylor safety, with us on SicEm365 Radio. So again, kind of go down. If somebody was to get, first of all, nice logo. I love the logo.
Yeah, looks good.
Really. And did you do all this on your own?
Yeah. So I built my website. I designed my website, my logo. I had to help with my friend Alex. She helped me with the logo. I have a merch logo and I have my watermark logo. But she helped me with my logos, and then after that, I got information on the Shopify, and I Googled it and connected with someone that connected, a few things on the website before the design and the layout and everything. I actually did all of that myself.
Very, very nice. And now we're giving you some publicity. Obviously, Craig mentioned you back when the sad news came down about your teammate Chance Waz, and that affected so many people. Obviously, it's affected you enough to where you're looking at what you're doing. But how tight? Phil Bennett's going to join us at 5, and he's about. I don't know if you heard this. He's about to become the defensive coordinator at the University of North Texas. Did you know that?
I had no clue. That's good. I had no clue.
Yeah, he's about to do that. So if
Coach Bennett's coming back.
He's coming back. He'll be at UNT with the Mean Green. So we'll tell him that we had you on as well. What did you learn about camaraderie, friendship? You guys have always been tight, but what did you learn during that time when Chance, he lost his life?
Just to check on everybody. Nobody knows what everybody's going through, but just sending out every once in a while a text or a call to your former teammates, to your former classmates, to just check on them, because everybody's trying to build for themselves in their early 20s, and it can get a little tough. And so, just reaching out to everybody to see where they're at in life, just to having a conversation goes a long way.
It's Verkedrick Vaughn's Synergy. And again, inspiring, motivating, and giving people an opportunity, variety of things. Verkedrick Vaughn's Synergy, one-stop shop like Amazon, variety of products, teach Forex trading, and also brand-exclusive merchandise as well. You can go online and look at it. We've also shown it a couple of different times. Verkedrick, anything else you want to say before we say goodbye?
I just want to say I thank all my supporters. If you have any issues on troubles about contacting me, I do have a contact page there on my email. You can email me via Instagram, DM me via Instagram, Facebook, or my email as well. And, I just want to appreciate you guys for having me on,
Hey, Verkedrick, I got your DM, and I hadn't responded. I didn't see it till today. I haven't been on Twitter much, so I'm glad that Smokey was able to get in touch with you, man, and glad that we were able to have you on. But I just want to say I apologize for not getting back to you, but I'm, glad we got a chance to talk to you.
Thank you so much.
Verkedrick Vaughn's with us on SicEm365 Radio. And again, Verkedrick Vaughn's Synergy, a business he's starting up, trying to help athletes because he's seen too many of them after they're done. Especially through the pandemic, and you just sometimes you need a little help.
Well, that's the
and
majority,
motivation along the way.
The majority of guys are not going off to the NFL.
No,
they're not going off to play football anymore. And we've seen our fair share of guys that once they don't have that guidance or that structure, that they just have absolutely no idea what to do with themselves. And I think Chance Waz was somebody that was struggling with what was next and what was going to happen in life. And I think that really hit home. And Verkedrick had talked before about, just the transition and what that's like and all the uncertainty that brings. And so it makes sense. And he had made a comment about that after Chance's passing. And that's when he had said that he had thought about, putting a business together. And I was like, yeah, dude, that sounds like a great idea, because there are a lot of guys struggling with that move from being the football player to just being the regular person in society. So hopefully he does a lot of good. He certainly has good intentions, and hope it works out well for a lot of guys out there who may need the help.
When you are a part of a structure like an athlete is, or a part of something like the military, then all of a sudden you're out of it. You can struggle because you have been so structured for such a long, long time. Thanks to Verkedrick Vaughn. Coming up next, we're going to treat him poorly. Phil Bennett.
He got tired of our segment. He's like, I'm going to go coach again.
Well, the segment propped him up that, you're right, Seth Luttrell listened, said, hey, this guy's still got a lot of fire and energy. He coached Luttrell at Oklahoma. We're going to hear from Phil Bennett on his job at North Texas. By the way, he did give me a nugget that Jim Gush might be joining them on staff, and I think Bennett's going to have some nice freedom to kind of work on that defensive staff as well. So Phil Bennett, who just Monday night last week signed an extension with us verbally. He's like every other coach.
Yeah.
Could find another job, found something better.
There's a different code. In that business.
Good thing we didn't have that $10 million buyout. I guess actually we should have had that $10 million buyout.
He also we didn't get a chance to visit with him about Vic Valoria, one of the new staff changes that Dave Aranda added to the mix. We'll talk about that with him as well. I think that Bennett maybe raised him for a little bit of time. So that's next. Phil Bennett, Jason King in studio. Ashley Hodge was just here. Dropped in. He's going to be here for the game Baylor and Kansas tonight at the Farrell Center, and this is SicEm365 Radio. Alan Samuels, Customer First Award for Excellence winner, most prestigious award in the car business. They have the 2021 Charger SXT with values of $5,670, 0% for 72 months standalone APR. There's the 2020 Jeep Renegade Latitude, total values of $6,750 off. The Jeep Gladiators, the 2020 edition, models up to $4,000 in total values. And the most decorated SUV, the Jeep Cherokee Latitude Plus, the 2021, and the Lux with up to $5,500 in total. Values the Grand Cherokee 2021, Laredo up to $4,250 in total values off. And if you're looking for a truck, of course, Ram Trucks Motor Trend Truck of the Year the last 3 years, back to back. Sounds like Chris Berman at a home run derby. 2021 Ram 1500 Crew Cab Lone Stars. Values up to $7,250 or 0% for 60 months or 2.9% for 72 months plus $3,000 in total cash back. It's Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Bird Culchin Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culchin Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culchin Ford. And are there better vehicles to tailgate with than the Ford F-150 or the Ford Expedition? And of course, you can get them new pre-owned Bird Culchin Ford. Our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week, locally owned dealership. Online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. Bird Culchin Ford.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T has board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Purdy over the middle. Intercepted. Tejada
This segment with former Baylor defensive coordinator Phil Bennett is sponsored by the Nitchie Group Insurance Company, where clients are more than just a policy number. See why thousands of Texans trust the Nitchie Group with their home, auto, benefits, and commercial insurance coverage. Call their Waco office to speak with an expert at 254-420-3900 or visit them online at tngins.com. Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Well, you know, you see the graphic at the bottom of the page. Phil Bennett, North Texas defensive coordinator. We had a buyout clause that obviously was not enough.
Yeah.
Everyone had kind of forgotten about the fact he's a hell of a football coach and was a great analyst, but apparently we did not do enough to keep him. Hey, hold on, just before we get to Phil Bennett, do you have it, Armstrong? Here we go.
I will remember you.
Oh, you guys are too much.
Congratulations, damn it. Really, I mean, when did this start happening?
I'm going to tell you something. I coached Seth at Oklahoma. And, you know, I have a lot of people call me, and they ask me things. I try to help young coaches. And he called me, and he said, Coach, give me some guys. And I sat down. I said, here's what you've got to do. And I sort of went through a deal, how to approach it, what to do. And I didn't know it, but his AD was in there. And the next day, I gave him some names. I said, these people are sound. I said, you guys have an issue of being sound. You can't win. And they ran the same type of offense as Art does. And they were scoring 38 points a game and giving up 40. And so the next day, I'm outside on my patio, and I'm doing some stuff, and my phone something hit, and it says, Coach, have you got a minute to talk if I call you? I said, yeah. So I called him, and he said, Coach, we were sort of talking what you're talking about, and then he goes, Ren wants to say something. And they sit there, and they said, Seth said, Coach, what will it take to get you out of retirement? And I never, I've turned down jobs every year. I mean, jobs that were, all of them were out of state, Pac-10, Pac-12, SEC. And I said, are you kidding me? He said, no. He said, after listening to you yesterday, the plan and what we needed to play defense with this offense, he said, I told Ren, you're the guy. We're talking to the guy that can help us. And, I was flattered at first, and I started thinking about it and sort of got my heart pumping. And I'm not sure I would do it for anybody else other than Seth. I think North Texas, what he's doing offensively, I was able, I'm going to be able to hire people that have worked with me before. And I gave them a list of things, and they did it. And I told them when I'm not in season, I want to be at home, and he was very accommodating. I have other things going on, and I do. I think I can help him. I think I can help him, get that program back on track.
So Mondays at 5, you're not allowed to recruit, you're not allowed to coach, and you're not allowed to do anything else but remain with us on this show. But
we might be able to do some guest spots.
There we go. We're going to do some guest spots, but we're thrilled for you. I mean, I saw that come out. I was like, wow, that's awesome.
I'm going to tell you, it was so fast, and I wanted Julie to be a part of it, and I wasn't, as I told you, I flew up to Oregon. I went to different places, and I couldn't bring anybody, and it was out of state, and this is Texas, and it's 3 hours door to door from my home here, and a little bit further than Waco was, and it's very similar. My last 3 jobs, I went to Pitt, and they hadn't had a winning season, and Dave told me if we don't win, we're fired. Well, we ended up, lo and behold, winning 9, winning 10, and winning 9. Came to Baylor, and Art told me, he said, we've got to get this thing going. He said, it will play better defense or we're not going to make it. And, that turned out pretty good with history. And then lo and behold, I go to Arizona State, and they were 4 and I think 8.
and we end up having we're second in the West of the division. We win 8 games, and so I've been fortunate, and I think we can do that at North Texas.
Phil, when it comes to coaching with someone you've played for, what's that like at this point, or that played for you? What's that like?
Well, I told him, I said, we talked a little bit, and I just cut him off after. I said, listen, here's what I'll do. I said, I have an interest, and I'm old. I'm not going to make irrational decisions. I said, I'm a face-to-face guy. I said, I'm going to drive up tomorrow. I said, I'm going to give you a list of things very similar like I did with Art. And I said, if those things and I feel good about the face-to-face, then this could be possible. And so they said, that's fine. And that's what I did. And Ren Baker is a very impressive guy. He had worked actually for Mac Rose. And, he told me, it's funny, he said, I just want to tell you, he said, I talked to Mac Rose, and he goes, Mac was very, highly, and said that, said he was very nice. He said he said some very good things. And I said, well, I told him, I said, well, I want to tell you something. I said, I'm pleased with that. I said, because Mac and I had very upfront, man-to-man discussions, and he did a great job dealing with 10 butthurt coaches, during that 16 season, which I wouldn't put that. I wouldn't want anybody to have to do that job. So, and I visited with him, and I got his vision for what he saw as problems, what needed to be fixed. And I told Seth, I said, Seth, I'm here to help you. I've done this so many generations, and Seth is such a wonderful person. From the time he was a freshman at OU, he just draws people to him. And he is a football guy, and he is an offensive guy, and he needed a guy that could give him some balance over there and no drama and just, and I told him, I said, I want you to know, I want to help you. And I said, I'm never going to call you out or I said, but if I think something will help the program, I'll walk in your office. I just want your time, a few minutes. And I said, I'm not going to be a guy coming in there every day. And I think he appreciated that.
Coach, it's been 3 seasons since your last gig at Arizona State. I know you already knew a lot, over time, but what do you think you've learned most in these last 3 years being away from coaching?
Well, a couple of things. I think that old saying, you sugar works better than salt. Mm-hmm. I've probably mellowed a little bit. I'm a little bit more sensitive to. Now, I'm an energy guy. I mean, it's been crazy. I've been in my attic since I got home, pulling out all my stuff, and I never quit coaching the game. Every game I watch, I coach, and I used to tell my brother Jerry, who Smokey knows, I said, Jerry, it's amazing how smart I've gotten the last 3 years. And you sit there, and it's easy to second guess, but I when it all came about, and somebody asked me, well, why didn't you go to a bigger school? It's not about that to me. It's about helping a guy that I love. That I think, and I'm gonna tell you something. North Texas have a commitment right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're committed to winning, and I think with that offense, I know at Baylor we were so good on offense, and we really. I used to tell the kids. I told Smokey this. Come up with things to motivate them, because I knew that with Robert, with all the people, the quarterbacks, Nick, that we had, that we were sort of gonna play second fiddle. But our kids learned that we were really good. And I told people it's not about total yards anymore. We created a new thing. It was yards per snap, and very few people don't realize this, but Baylor from 2013 to 2016 was only one of 4 teams that I think I told David this before, that yards per snap and points per possession was in the top 10. And we were the only Big 12 team. And there was only 5 teams, us, Michigan State, I think Ohio State, Clemson, and one other that gave up less than 5 point yards a snap, which we're seeing now in the SEC. with people spreading it. That's not easy. And so we were a major contributor to our success at Baylor, and I had to get the kids to feel good about that. And Art did a great job of buying into it. And I think we can do that there, at North Texas.
Do you think that, speaking of which, of that, the goal line stand against Kansas State in what turned out to be a blowout win, but that was a big moment against them, and that was a big moment for your football team defensively as well. Were those kind of the moments, the ones that made you as proud as anything else?
I did a guy I know is doing a documentary of what was going on at Baylor, and he asked me my favorite team. And I mean this with all my heart. I loved all of them because it evolved. But my first two years there, I mean, when I got there, I didn't think. I mean, and those kids bought in with everything they had. We weren't as talented as we needed to be. I mean, I can still remember Elliott Coffey playing with a shoulder he had no business playing. Mike Hicks, Tracy Robinson, Baptiste. Moving Chris, Chris McAllister wanted to kick my ass when I told him he was a defensive end. He became a unanimous 2-time all-conference player. Sam Hall, Ahmad Dixon. I mean, those kids, we developed, I tell the story of KJ and Joe and Meach coming in. We went just like I'm going to do there. We're going to go on a search. And we weren't, I'm not saying that we were dominant by any, but we found a way that first year, David. I mean, it was close to miraculous that we got enough stops to win 10 games. And if you remember, we got better and better. We started in the 2012 team, we started good, and then we had a rash of injuries. Before the West Virginia game, I made a stupid decision on personnel to do something, and it didn't work. And I called a lousy game. Then we came back. We lost to Iowa State, and we just kept telling the kids, keep the belief. And all of a sudden, Cholo, Mike Hicks, comes back, and he's directing the back end. I had set Hager because he played so poorly against Texas. I told him, I said, you don't want to play. You just don't want to play. And I think his mother, Bridget, will tell you she was ready to kill me. His dad had to keep her from coming to Waco to kill me. And I will never forget this. He comes in my office one day and he's, Coach, you're right. Please give me a chance. And I put him back in the game. We played Oklahoma. They beat us, but we played good. And then the next thing, we finished with 5 straight wins. And I told you after that Holiday Bowl, what I tell you, I said we will win the Big 12 next year, and we did. And so those 2 years were years I wouldn't take from anything. I mean, and were they perfect? No, but just and I'll never forget, just the humbleness of those kids and the belief that they gave us.
Who's worse, having an angry mom at you or Britt Hager, the former all-conference?
Hey, I tell you how old I am. I recruited Britt. and Britt, hey, she's a lot prettier than him. But you know what's funny?
Yeah.
You know what's funny? After we got past that, Eddie Lackey got better, and then it started rolling. And I laughed, and it's crazy. But we started getting our kids in there, kids we evaluated, the Taylor Youngs and the Smiths and the Bo Blackshear, all those guys, Trevor Bell, all these guys were starting to get in the mix, and it just really took off. And you know what? We started having expectancy on defense. Hey, you know what? And they would ask, Coach, what was our yards per snap? What was our points per possession? How many takeaways? How many 3 and outs did we have? And that was the key. Playing with this offense, we knew we were going to play. I think I'm right on this. From those years, my 6 years there, we averaged over 16 possessions a game. I think it was the most of anybody in college football during that time. So you're going to play a lot of snaps because we either scored fast or we gave them the ball fast. We usually scored. And that's a little bit exactly what Seth does. And I think I've sort of got a feel for that. I mean, it took me a little bit to learn. And you know, the takeaways, you know, the last year at 16, we were number one in pass efficiency defense with a very young group, the group that won that got to the Big 12 championship last year. You know, Casey Horney tells me the story of Tom Herman after the game where Baylor last year smokes them. And he said, Casey, where in the hell did they get those kids? He goes, we recruited them. Y'all didn't offer one of them. You know, Graylin Arnold's sister was an all-conference basketball player there. They didn't want him. You know, Chris Miller, Henry Black, you can go on and on. All of them were guys that, you know, our linebacker from Paris. All those kids, none of them were offered at Texas. You know, our nose guard, you know, out of Houston, that's with Matt up there. I mean, it was crazy, you know, how it all evolved.
Phil Bennett is our guest on SicEm365 Radio.
How much have you gotten by being out of the coaching game for the last 3 years, gotten to watch a lot more schemes and things you wouldn't normally get to see if you were in the rat race of coaching?
Oh, no question. I mean, I've visited, I've conferred with a lot of people. I don't think there's a doubt that I didn't learn things during that time. I stayed involved on my phone. I've got all the apps for the games. I get people, even pro games, guys that I've worked with. I've consulted with just a lot of people. You know, I go down regularly to Mary Hardin Baylor with Pete Fredenberg, and we stay down there for hours to watch tape. And something that was pretty neat, my former coach and boss, R.C. Slocum, is on the committee, you know, the National Championship Committee. And every Monday, he gets every game in the country. So we sat over there and we critique everybody. So, you know, I think, without question, I expect that I will be a better coach than what I was when I left. And you know, when I left, it wasn't because I wasn't really, you know, I had two neck surgery, a back surgery, and knee surgery. And lo and behold, as the good Lord would have it, I was able to be here when my wife's sister, who we had, who was mentally handicapped, when she got sick, I was able to be here with Julie, and she passed away. And then, unfortunately, 4 months later, her mother passed away. So the Lord was sort of looking after us, you know, and each time something came up, I knew if I had an interest or not. And so I just sort of felt like this was something that fit me.
So, Coach, being in the pandemic era, you know, obviously things were different last year. They're opening up a bit this year. What's kind of, because I don't know what North Texas schedule is like with spring ball and all that. What's kind of like the first steps for you getting acclimated, getting to Denton, doing all of that? And what is the message that you'll send to your defensive players? What's the tone that you'll try to set from the outset?
Well, you know, the first thing is I'm going to go up there and everywhere I've ever done, I've done this. I'm going to meet with every defensive kid face to face. You know, I want them to see a person. I don't want them to see just a coach. I want to know a little bit about them. I want to know a little bit. I want them to know about me. And then as a group, we're going to get together and I'm going to talk to them. I think that, and I say this, and I mean this. I mean, in any leadership role, I mean, it's got to be a we thing. And obviously, you know, they've been scarred over the last two seasons. You know, before that, they played pretty good. They just had a rough go. And so the biggest thing I want to do is I want to let them know that I'm here to help them, that coaching is important. It's a we thing. And I'm going to put them in a position to be successful. And what I ask from you is I want all you got. If we're going to do this, let's do it together, and let's give everything we have for the team, and to see where we can take this. And every day we're going to be practicing against the number one offense in Conference USA, and that's what I used to tell our kids. You're practicing against the best offense in the country. If we get where we can just come close to managing them, then great things are going to happen. And it's always worked for me that, And the other thing, I want them to know that you know what, that we're going to be there for them. I mean, it can't be a one-way street. And I've always said that. I might be, some people say, he yells a lot, but they know that when it's over, that my care factor for them is way above the football factor.
Are you going to be able to bring anybody that has coached with you elsewhere on your staff? Is that, I know there's still you got human resources and all that, but I know you'd kind of give me a little bit of a hint.
Yeah, there'll be some familiar faces there. Guy been with me pretty much everywhere I've been. A couple of my former players, or one of my former players, So I tell you what I did. I looked at it. I want a mixture of old and new. I want two good, hustle, tough young guys, and then I want two steady veterans, and possibly another one. I'm looking at the last one right now.
The word you're looking for is grizzled. You want grizzled guy.
Yeah, and we all know when you stay in this thing as long as I have. I mean, I laugh how the game's evolved. I mean, it used to be the wishbone, then it was the run and shoot, and then it went to the what's Leach's deal? What do they call it?
Air raid.
Air raid, and now then it went to Arch deal, the no huddle and the spread, sideline. But I tell the kids, and it never changes, and I think I've told you this, David, many times. The first thing I want to put on every board, everywhere I've been, is knowledge is power. When you have knowledge, it empowers you. And in today's football, with my system, we're simple. We automatic a lot of things depending on what they do. And if you have the knowledge, every kid that's ever played for me at Baylor would tell you that we felt like we could defend anything you did. Now, sometimes, I mean, they're going to make plays. You can have it defended. They're going to make plays. And but I will tell you that getting kids to believe in you and your system, and then most importantly, getting them to know that you believe in them. That's coaching. That's what you do.
Can you name any of those guys joining you on staff?
Well, I think we'll end up. I probably need to wait, and one of them, obviously, that I was talking about was with me at Baylor would be Jim Gush. Jim's coming.
Yeah,
that's the plan. That's the plan. Still got to go through protocol.
Did Jim Gush have any idea when you called, like, hey, might be getting the band back together?
Let me tell you a story. I hired Jim Gush in 1983. John Fox and I were co-coordinators at Iowa State. Jim was our GA. Jim had been a great player in the Ivy League at Bucknell. Comes in, and he's a great coach. And I'll never forget this. My late wife and me had a brand new, like a Century Toyota, and Jim needed a job. And the defensive coordinator job was open at Garden City. And I told him, I said, take my car and just drop in. Tell the guy you were happening to be around, and you just dropped in. And he did, and he got the job and became the head coach there and won a national championship. And we've been friends ever since, and he's a great coach. He knows what I want. He adds so much. He's a great recruiter. I mean, the high school coaches love him. He is opposite to me in a couple of different ways, but you don't want a bunch of the same of what you have. And he's a brilliant football coach.
You and I spoke a little bit late Monday. One more thing. Phil Bennett now, who will be the defensive coordinator at North Texas under Seth Luttrell. You mentioned Jim Gush, former Baylor linebacker. He was at Navarro, McNeese State, Kansas State, among others. Vic Valoria, new strength and conditioning coach at Baylor. Dave Aranda, yet one of the other changes of his staff.
Hey.
You know him.
The mullet. His name's not Vic, it's the mullet.
The mullet, okay.
He doesn't have one anymore.
Well, let me just say, it wasn't about hair.
Oh, okay.
You ever seen those little mullet fish that look like are all head and they're just swimming around everywhere? Yeah. That's why. Because I'm going to tell you something. I've coached some great players, Vic Valori is in the top 3 or 4.
Wow.
He would knock you out. I mean, I come from anyway. And that's what I told him. I said, you look like one of those little mullets running into a bunch of shad. I mean, he was, when I got there, he was there, and he told, and I knew of him, of course, and I'd been at LSU, and I knew John Curtis and all, and I'm telling you, what a guy, what a leader, what a football coach. Without a question, one of my all-time favorites.
Phil, do you understand, as we say goodbye, and we will have you on again because I'm going to demand that. I'll call Ren Baker soon. You, in this segment, when we had you on, starting back at we had you on, and then we had you on consistently, I want to say this, and I'm not saying this because I did not go to Baylor. I've covered the hell out of Baylor since 2010. Paul well before that, Craig a little bit after that. But I don't think you understand how much this segment has meant to Baylor football or athletics or just fans in general of Baylor. And it all began because of your storytelling, but also when I told you, you used that term "we" a lot, which a lot of people could understand if you didn't after all that went down. But I don't think you understand the impact you had on a lot of people that love Baylor with this segment every week.
Well, I told you this before, and I mean it. To this point in my career, without question, Baylor has been I had 2 daughters graduate from there, and everything wasn't right. But you know what? I can't live my life worrying about things I can't control. And I'm not a person. I'm not going to hold animosity to something that was so beautiful. Now, I look at every kid I ever coached at Baylor, and I just, I just cannot not be a Baylor fan. Yeah, and that's just the way it is. And I'm very thankful for my time at Baylor. Very thankful. And I will tell you this. Art Briles will tell you the same thing. A few people's action doesn't represent everybody. And I don't mind. As everybody knows, I'm not afraid to tell the truth on because what has been described and was described is not where I work or where I live. And you can say that to every player that's ever been there. But I have enjoyed this immensely. What you guys do for Baylor is outstanding. Not just Baylor, but your high school, what you do. I am tickled to death that this situation evolved for you guys with SicEm365, and it keeps everybody. I mean, sports is the equalizer of life. Mm-hmm. It keeps everybody, positive. We're all on the same page, and I just think it's what would we have done this year without football?
No.
I mean, swear to goodness. I mean, I just sat there and I'm so thankful to all the coaches, all the administrators, everything. I talked to Larry Fedora today, and he is such a wonderful man. And he told me, he said, Phil, I'm pulling for Baylor. It just didn't work. And let me tell you something. In today's world, that's hard to do sometimes. But people know Baylor's a good place. And the ones that have been there, they know that. I'm very to you guys for having me.
No question about it. We love the segment. Have you bought your new gold shirt for the sideline? Is it going to be?
I never knew we created but you know what? Their equipment guy, one of them has already called one of the guys. He goes, well, what do you want to wear? I said, well, gold hadn't been bad.
Yeah.
Maybe gold green, I guess.
Hey, man, appreciate everything you meant to us as well. Appreciate it. Good luck. We mean that, as you know, with the best of intentions, and also with Seth Luttrell, Ren Baker, and Jim Gush. Man, we love Jim Gush. Thank you for your time, Coach. Congratulations from everybody.
Thank you, guys. It's been an honor to visit with you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Phil Bennett.
It's an ASPCA commercial.
Yeah, it is. It's like some dog raining on it.
12:30 at night.
Yeah.
Well, that was sad.
Yeah.
But great. I'm happy for Phil Bennett. I'm happy that he's going to be back in coaching. It's clearly what he loves. It's clearly what he was cut out.
I'm happy as far as those players in North Texas.
Well,
there's a couple
not
of,
all of them. Let me tell you something.
There's one.
And Ryan Stewart's contacting every one of them right now, going, "Run! God bless you, run!"
I would think that one of the things he would say is like, "Do you like having your whole ass?"
Yeah,
because it's about to get chewed.
The first quote that he ever gave us when we broke the story back in January of 11, on our way to the College Football Coaches Association convention in Dallas, is when he said on the interview, like the next day or that day, we asked him about his style of defense. He said, "We're going to blitz the hell out of them." He goes, "The problem with the blitz is that somebody's band is going to play." Remember that? That was one of the first ones. And, of course, listen, there were times that defense was challenged, no question, but they turned it around. Two different Big 12 titles. Everyone said, yeah, it was the offense. The defense had to get just good enough to be able to get some stops because there was a time when they didn't get many of those yet whatsoever. So Phil Bennett now, congratulations to what Ren Baker and Seth Luttrell get now at North Texas.
Yeah, Jordan Nichols from Connolly is on that roster, defensive back at UNT. He just got done with his freshman season, played a little bit, but that's the only Waco defensive player on their roster. And then Dazion Carroll from Midway is an offensive lineman for North Texas, about to head into his junior season. Phil won't, I guess Phil will be going up against him quite a bit, but I was looking for some connections. So, yeah, you do have the one with Connolly, and then Midway with Dazion Carroll, but Connolly with Jordan Carroll, I think is what I said. But, yeah I mean, it's great. It's or Jordan Nichols, gosh. I was thinking in watching Alabama and what Sarkisian was doing offensively and how well they were able to balance that and just how wide open that offense is that, like I said earlier in the show, Phil Bennett's just a name that makes sense. If you're an offense like North Texas where you feel confident in scoring but you don't feel real confident in stopping, that was the problem at Baylor when Browse took over. And the problem in these early years, they eventually got it settled out and had success and, give Phil enough time, and I'm sure that'll be the case at North Texas as well.
When we come back, Jason King will join us. He'll discuss that game that comes up tonight. We've taken you about 2.5 hours into this one. We've heard from Daryl Johnston, among more. By the way, Franz Fraschilla, Mack Rhodes, and Chancey Stuckey tomorrow is a part of our guest lineup. But coming up next, Jason King on Baylor in Kansas, tonight at the Farrell Center and SicEm365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, a hidden gem in Waco, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street. Look, they still have some of the single barrel, 5-year-old aged single malt whiskey from Balcones. It's the only place you can get this particular barrel. It is absolutely delicious. Steve Chapman gave me a bottle. He gave us all a bottle. It is fantastic. Really, really good stuff. Also, look, they've got a wide selection of not just spirits and they've got craft beer like you would not believe. I mean, you walk into that walk-in fridge, it is unreal. They've got variety, seasonal. They're always changing it out. It is a great place, the best place to get craft beer in Waco if you're looking for the variety of craft beer. A great selection of wines, great selection of spirits. And look, if you're looking for something, you don't know exactly what you're looking for, they've got a great staff as well. Convenient in-store, clean in-store location, plus a great drive-through window that is very fast and very efficient. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street, Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Learning to navigate life in the COVID-19 world has been a struggle, and where and how to get tested has been one of the biggest challenges. Impact Health Labs has your answer. If you need mass testing for your office, church, dormitory, or school, Impact Health Labs is who to call. They will come to you, conduct the testing at your location, and have the test back within 24 hours. Most major insurance accepted, meaning your out-of-pocket cost is low. So no more waiting by the phone for days to find out the results. Impact Health Labs was founded by 3 Army licensed and credentialed medical professionals. They believe in accuracy, efficiency, and doing the job right. Call 254-744-6233 to set up your group screening today. Impact Health Labs, on-site, prompt, and accurate, taking COVID-19 head-on. Again, that number is 254-744-6233 or online at impacthealthlabs.com.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, we have tried to run the gamut from the NFL playoffs with Daryl Johnston, former Bills linebacker Daryl Talley, on Buffalo against Kansas City, DJ on the Packers in their game with Tom Brady and the Bucs, also Baylor basketball with Jerome Tang, who was fantastic, and of course hearing from Scott Drew and Maceo Teague. Now joined by Jason King, SicEm365.com, and the field of 68.com as well. He and Ashley do an amazing podcast. He's in studio with us. Jason, last time they played at home, it seemed like, as good as Baylor was, is that we know what Kansas is when they're cornered, and they haven't been cornered very often. Do you see any similarities with that game tonight?
I don't, just because I think Kansas is such a different team than they were a year ago. Now, they are in the same situation, I suppose. They feel like their backs are against the wall in terms of competing for that Big 12 title. But, when you take Udoka Azubuike off that team, you take Devin Dotson off that team, those are 2 All-Americans, and they didn't really add much or replace them with much. And so I just think that this Kansas team, personnel-wise, is just not at the same level it was a year ago. Now, they do still have the Hall of Fame coach on the sideline and Bill Self. They have some nice pieces and Marcus Garrett and a few others. But I just think Baylor matchup to matchup, guy to guy is a lot better than this Kansas team.
For Kansas, how much are they reaping the potential of the NCAA sanctions right now, and that recruits are nervous, or maybe transfers, like things that they normally would have go for them aren't going just in this particular year?
Yeah, well, they've lost out on a lot of guys the past couple of years. I mean, Kendall Brown, I hate to say it as an example, he was probably going to Kansas, but I can't blame him. I mean, with the uncertainty there, he picked Baylor. A lot of guys are going elsewhere, so they don't have those high round lottery pick, first round draft pick guys on this team. Ochai Agbaji maybe is a first day guy. I wouldn't take him in the first day, but a lot of people would. So But the thing is, though, when you look back at Bill Self's teams and some of the most successful players he's had there, you think about a Joel Embiid or an Andrew Wiggins, but, Devontae Graham, Frank Mason, Sharon Collins was a McDonald's All-American, but still a lot of guys, Tyshawn Taylor, a lot of guys that weren't big names that ended up becoming All-Americans there after really growing in the program. And they've got some players like that can maybe do some damage eventually. But again, I just think that they've got a lot of good players, but not a lot of great players. And I think Baylor has some great players.
Jason, Fran Fraschilla had a tweet a couple of days ago. He said, "It's painful for me to say this, but this is not the same Mark Vital of last season. Is he in shape? Would love to see that fire again." What do you think of that?
I kind of agree with him. I mean, I think that he may be, 10, 15 pounds overweight. I think he could probably shed that real fast. I think the fire is there. I just think that for whatever reason, I mean, Baylor they have so many pieces now, especially with Matt Meyer getting even better than he already was, which was already good. I mean, I think Vital's minutes are down. He's in and out more. It's just kind of hard for him to really – it's been hard for him to really get into that mind frame that we're used to seeing him in consistently. Now, I also think this, other than Illinois, Baylor didn't play very many high-level opponents in the non-conference. Certainly not their fault. We know about the cancellations. But I really feel like when Vital is dialed in and the lights are bright and everyone's talking about the game and it's a high-level opponent, I think he's one of those players that brings out the best in him. I don't think he gets geared up for Alcorn State as much as he does Texas Tech. And I thought he did some great things against Texas Tech and played much better. I loved his fire at the end, stripping Matt McClung of the ball in the waning seconds. I mean, to me, that just showed that was the Mark Vital I miss. But man, I mean, again, Baylor has so many good pieces. If he goes in there and is not himself or not really being productive, they can take him out, put Matt Meyer in, and not lose much, and actually a lot of times gain something. So it's harder to get minutes on this team, which is a good thing.
I think he's averaging about 20 minutes a game. So if you think about that, that's about half. I don't know what it was last year, maybe 26 or 28. Of course, foul trouble because he's so physical sometimes has been a problem. Not this year, but in the past.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I'm just not going to give up on him. I'm definitely not. As a Baylor guy, I'm not happy with the way he's played thus far. I think he's got so much more in him, but I just think that guy has something that burns down deep, man, and something's gonna bring it out in him, and he'll have some bad games, but he's gonna win you a few games too. I remember last year, I think they beat Butler here, and I think it was Butler, and he barely scored, but I mean, I felt like he won the game for him with some blocks and some defensive plays down the end, and when he's dialed in, he's pretty special, and I think he still is. Hopefully, he'll have some good things happen where we'll get some confidence. Maybe he'll drop 5-10 pounds and things will start going his way.
Jason King in studio with us, SicEm365 Radio. We had Jerome Tang on earlier.
Oh, he's the best.
He is.
Such a good,
he is.
I mean, I'll tell you this, hopefully he does well as a coach, but wherever he goes and becomes the head coach, the media is going to love him because what a great interview. So.
He is absolutely the best. He mentioned the tedious little things that Scott Drew, who now has this almost corporation. I know that there's still goals. They need to win a conference title. They need to get to a Final Four and all that. It would be nice if you're a Baylor fan. But how tedious and how he never stops looking for something. That it's always something. Like even this afternoon, looking for a piece of video in Kansas or whatever. Is that kind of what you've heard along the way as well?
Yeah, just how competitive he is and how positive he is, and just he's relentless, and I think people now are starting to appreciate Scott Drew and what he's done at Baylor. I think people are seeing these teams and all the whole Scott Drew can't coach crowd. You don't see that anymore. These teams aren't just winning. They're winning by playing efficient basketball, by playing, high-level, energetic defense. That's coaching, and that's recruiting and finding guys that fits your system. And I think that for him to really, in my mind, he's already an elite guy. He's a top 10 coach. But I mean, I think a lot of these national media members, he needs to win something. He needs to win a Big 12 title, get to a Final Four. I think when he does that, the respect level for him is going to grow. You got to grow even more. It should already be there. But for people that don't follow the program as closely as you and I do every day, I think they want to see those little things on the resume. But to me, I mean, he's already proven himself time and time again. And the thing is about Scott Drew, we got to remember, players come in and they're 18, 19 years old, and we watch them as freshmen and they do okay. And then we watch them grow and we watch them get better year to year. I mean, that can be the case with coaches too. I mean, I think Scott Drew was 31 when he got hired at Baylor, and everyone was nitpicking his coaching and his recruiting and some of the things he was doing on the recruiting trail, remarks he was making, all mistakes. But I mean, coaches make mistakes too, and we've kind of watched him grow up in front of our eyes, just like we watch players. And man, he's gone from being a guy that wasn't respected for X's and O's to a guy that I think, if you ask opposing coaches, is highly respected for their X's and O's. Coaches are copying him now. I believe Chris Beard or someone at Texas Tech was even talking about things they stole from Baylor, things Baylor's doing. He's adapting, and a lot of that's what goes as a credit to his assistants as well. But it's interesting to see how far he's come as a coach.
I think people expect coaches to come out of the like you buy a TV, you buy a new TV, you take it out of the package, you plug it in, and it works
perfect.
That's what they think that coaches are, and it's not that case at all. I mean, Bill Self wasn't perfect when he got to Kansas,
right.
and Roy Williams isn't perfect when he got to UNC. Or to Kansas before that.
And a lot of times too, I think we forget that, especially early on when we would criticize Scott Drew, why'd they run that play at the end? That was a terrible shot. Well, just because the guy took a terrible shot, that might not mean that Scott Drew told him to do that. I mean, he might have taken that shot on his own. He might not have run the right play. So I think a lot of the reason too we're seeing Baylor look so good and so crisp is the players they're getting. I mean, coachable guys that aren't selfish, guys that relish sharing the ball and place winning above everything else and don't get down on themselves when they have a bad shooting night. So a lot of it is just finally figuring out what works, for his style and for his program and blending those pieces together. What they have now chemistry-wise is special. I'm telling you. I mean, they're spoiling us because eventually they're going to recruit a guy or two that might not fit, and it's going to cause some. I mean, it happens to everyone. It's not a knock on them, but boy, they have blended the pieces together right now so perfectly. Last year too, and I think next year is going to be that way. But so I think Baylor fans need to embrace this and appreciate it because you don't see teams with this chemistry that often. That's why I'm really enjoying being around it.
As good as they are, Jason, there's still room to improve from the free throw line. What do you think the issue is there?
I don't know. I think it just probably gets into their head a little bit.
Yeah.
At times I feel like they rush it a little bit. What was discouraging to me, every now and then your big guys are going to miss some free throws and stuff, but to have Flagler and Butler and Mitchell the other night, I think they went 5 for 12 from the line against Texas Tech. That's 7 big points right there. I would, 9 for 12 would be a little bit more what you'd expect. So it's happened, for a couple of games now, it feels like. And even Butler last year, I think, struggled at the end of games and with some free throw shooting. So, gosh, if they were to lose a big game down the line, if you had to say what's their Achilles heel, right now I think free throw shooting would be one of those things.
Do they put Marcus Garrett on Jarrett Butler? He's playing a point guard now. I know that, man, they went after it last year.
They did, and Butler, Garrett's even commented how Butler, I believe he said, is the hardest player he's guarded the last few years and how he really looks forward to that matchup, and I think Butler feels the same way. So, I would certainly expect that, and Butler had the great game, has had 2 great games at Allen Fieldhouse, and then last year, probably didn't play quite as well as he would have liked at home and missed that big shot at the end. But I don't know. I think he'll have a better game tonight.
Jason King, SicEm365.com, and, of course, the field of68.com, which is great. We had Rob Douster on. We told you that last week. So if they win and they remain unbeaten, that's Tech and then Kansas. Now, Tech on the road, Kansas at home. Well, how impressive would that be if when you looked at the schedule at the start of the year, even as good as Baylor is, or the expectations as high as they are?
Really impressive. And, Tech is especially because I think the Tech win was great because they were high on confidence. They had looked great in that Texas win. I thought they played pretty well against Baylor. I thought they gave Baylor everything they had. They threw every punch they had, and Baylor still beat them. So that was a really impressive win. I had always kind of marked tonight down mentally as a win. I just feel like Kansas is more vulnerable than they've been in a long time. But I think those road wins are tough. I think Oklahoma State Saturday is going to be a beast, especially if they're playing well.
That's why the Texas wins where they have been, as you mentioned a week ago.
Yeah, they've really. I hate to say they have a leg up right now because since we've talked, they've lost a game. But that's going to West Virginia and going to Kansas and win. That's 2 big time venues that they've checked off. So I feel like it's going to come down to. Still feel like it's going to come down to Baylor and Texas at the end. I think Texas is really good and really talented. The thing I liked about them even when they lost to Tech, I just loved their energy. I think last year Fran Fraschilla called it a country club team
Yeah.
at one point, which I thought was really good. They were soft, and they were letting people just drive and punk them and dunk on it. But, boy, Greg Brown, I think that they bring a fierceness and a swagger that I haven't seen in Texas program in a while. And that's why they're kind of scary to me right now, probably more so than anyone.
Is that
because when you have that, it's great. When you have it with really good players,
they've got some guards. They got the big guys now. But isn't that confidence as well? They're playing that way because they're playing with confidence because they've gotten a couple of huge wins.
Yeah, I mean, sure, it definitely snowballs. But, I mean, I think certainly you just need those personalities on your team, too. You know, that Kai Jones kid is like that. He's new. Greg Brown is obviously like that. So I think they've really brought something to that team besides just talent.
Enjoy the night.
Looking forward to it.
All right, Jason King, Sic'em365.com. Thanks for coming in studio with
Love
you.
the setup, man. It's looking great in here.
Well, it's kind of a work in progress, but we continue. Armstrong, by the way, of course, Jack McKenzie, Armstrong Sims run the mothership. And Connor Carruthers, the former quarterback at Belton, is now one of our interns. Is there a camera of Connor?
Oh, there he is.
Come on.
TV debut.
I gave you a little Twitter shout out as well. He's now a part of our internship program. We appreciate him.
You know what? We were calling Belton games like a couple years, covering Midway in Belton, that we'd be, sitting here a couple years
sad
later.
for Connor, though, is we never called the game that he won.
Yeah.
Well, that's because the defense gave up so many yards and points. They really, Midway will always put up huge numbers.
Those were always shootouts.
They were some crazy games. Thanks for being here. Hope to see you more, right? Good to see you. Appreciate that. All right, so Paul Catalina's top 5. Had we known one of them that Paula, Girl Friday, asked us to do, would have been Phil Bennett's 5 choices to join his defensive staff. Jim Gush is going to be one of them. He mentioned Gush as a linebackers coach. But here to go, Paul.
All right, top 5 NFL stories to follow out of the divisional weekend. It was kind of a crazy week. Here is the top 5. So number 5, Deshaun Watson and J.J. Watt in Houston. This is an absolute mess right now, what Cal McNair has wrought with his decisions. And look, Nick Caserio might wind up being a great GM, but he's going to have to hire a coach that is going to have to either contend with the 2 best players on the team being gone or the 2 best players on the team being unhappy. So that's something to watch on down the stretch. And these things right now, usually when you hear a player is unhappy, it doesn't end with all of a sudden he's happy and on the same team again. Okay. So players have all the power now. Number 4, is Eric Bieniemy going to miss out on this cycle too? Well, he had an interview with the Texans, and I think the Eagles want to talk to him too, but there's not many jobs left, and it would be wild to see him not get a job again.
Yeah, I just hate the conversation that it creates, and unnecessarily, because he's due a job. I mean, at this point, it's a bit ridiculous. If I see another NFL team go out and hire some retread who's already failed twice somewhere else, that's not so much what we're seeing with the hires right now. But no, he's due. He's more than due. And shoot, I'd like to see him get out of Kansas City just to make them a little bit more vulnerable, quite frankly.
Yeah, I'd like to see if he goes to Houston, like him and Deshaun Watson. I think that'd be great.
If he has Deshaun Watson.
If he has Deshaun Watson. Maybe that would help Deshaun Watson be less than unhappy. Maybe he'll at least be neutral.
Yeah, if he heard Eric Bieniemy's coming, I think he's back on board in a major way.
All right. Do the Browns have staying power?
I asked you this earlier today. Do they have any free agents that are big name, the players that oh my God, we're not going to be able to retain them? Are they also going to pony up and make sure they pay some of the youngins who are getting ready to be due?
Yeah, I think that they've always had salary cap room because of how they've had to run their team the last few years, but I think they've got that room. I think that, and you remember, they did most of this run without Odell Beckham Jr., who was supposed to be their star wide receiver. He might find his way out of Cleveland just because they don't need him and they can.
They seem to be young and talented.
Yeah,
and Baker Mayfield's better than I thought he would be at quarterback. He is. I thought he would be good, but I'm not saying he's above good.
His commercials were outweighing his play on the field for a long time.
But think about this, though. You had all the guys who were quarterback. Mahomes and Rodgers in the State Farm commercial. Mm-hmm. You have Mayfield is in every one of them. Mahomes is in a bunch of them as well. They've all kind of paid off for him.
Yeah, hey, I'll say this about Baker Mayfield. I know why he annoys some people, but you can't say for 1 second that he doesn't talk it and then back it up. I mean, he does.
He does.
He doesn't go out guarantee Super Bowl reigns and things like that, but he said he'd put Cleveland back on the map. They're back on the map. They're more on the map than they've been in nearly my 35 plus years on this earth. So,
all right.
His trolling of Colin Cowherd by turning his hat backwards in press conferences intentionally after Colin Cowherd said that's the reason he's not going to win is my favorite thing.
And I don't understand. That's total off topic, but I just don't understand the folks that eat that up, like the backwards hat thing. That's just the lamest troll job by Cowherd, but whatever.
All right, new hires in L.A. and Detroit. L.A. first off, Brandon Staley from the Rams, defensive coordinator, done a great job there in Los Angeles and just moves across town. It'll be interesting to see what he does there. A defensive-minded head coach with Justin Herbert and the offensive weapons that they have. And also, Clifton, Texas native and Texas A&M Aggie, Dan Campbell in Detroit. Now, Dan Campbell's not known as an X and O guru. He's more known as a kind of a motivator, the Parcells type. And Parcells coached him, and he worked on Sean Payton's and Parcells' staffs in his coaching career. So he's got some of that in him. I'm very curious to see what he does with Detroit. Detroit's problem, I don't ever think, has been the skill of their coaches until Matt Patricia, because they had Jim Caldwell, and he's a guy who knows football. They've had good coaches. They're really bad at picking good players.
All right, is that 4?
Yeah, that's 4.
That's
and
4.
Number 1, I think we've seen the last of Drew Brees, guys, and that kind of hurts me a little bit because I love watching Drew Brees.
Yeah,
I wonder after yesterday if he'll go out like that. We had, who was it earlier talking about that? Moose Johnston, yeah. But at the same time, like, coming back doesn't guarantee that it's going to be any better next year. In fact, you might not even reach this point next year. You might not even make the playoffs next year. Like, you don't know. So coming back doesn't guarantee anything. Great player, Hall of Famer, obviously. And he got his ring, so I don't feel too bad if this was the end of the road.
All right, 2 quick notes about last Friday's top 5 when it comes to The Simpsons, or no, Nickelodeon. Sheila said that you should have included Ren and Stimp.
Ren and Stimpy. Yeah, I think she just got cut.
Jordan mentioned sub out Drake and Josh. Put in Hey Arnold. Possible in Guts over Doug, but Doug is fine. SS, Rugrats, and Double Dare are staples.
That sounds like somebody in my
That's
wheelhouse.
Jordan Victorin.
Yeah, they don't know Drake and Josh. They
And then also we'll have breaking news tomorrow with Stephen Vaughn, one of our 5-star prospects who's a listener. He looks as if he's thinking about going back to college, and his hat, he's going to have a hat day. Baylor, Virginia. I think he wants to go into like law school. Colorado, USC, and I think UCLA's on that mix as well, maybe South Carolina. So our own Stephen Vaughn has become one of those coveted prospects.
Hey,
so
do we need to get him on Zoom and do this?
Yeah, I think so.
I think we should.
He got his hair, he shaved his face and all that stuff. All right, thanks to all of our guests today. Again, Baylor men's basketball, 8 o'clock tip. Jerome Tang, former Bills linebacker Darryl Talley, also Scott Drew, Maceo Teague, Daryl Johnston, Verkedrick Vaughns, Phil Bennett, and Jason King in studio. Tomorrow, Mac Rhodes. Tomorrow, Fran Fraschilla. Tomorrow, Chancey Stuckey, among many others. For Paul Catalina, for Craig Smoak, for Connor Carruthers, Armstrong Sims, and for Jack McKenzie and Jason King in studio, I'm David Smoak. Thank you for listening whenever you do, however long it might be, and good night on SicEm365 Radio. Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to Sic'em365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has been proudly serving Texans across the state for over 60 years. Call 254-772-8090 to find an agent who will provide a free review of your auto, home, and life coverage.